Riots outside an ICE facility in the suburbs of Chicago. Rioters scream that people should shoot ICE. ICE responds with tear gas, pepper spray. Vehicles are swarmed. It's not the most egregious thing we've seen, but following the terror attacks we've seen against the ICE facilities, it is pretty shocking that the federal government is allowing this degree of violence to escalate. So we'll go through everything that we're seeing there. We then got a couple of really crazy stories. Apparently, there's a superintendent in Iowa who is an illegal immigrant who has been arrested. He was working the school system there, which is very shocking and confusing. And oh boy, it gets crazier. Donald Trump is discussing whether or not they should begin to drone strike inside Venezuela. So the external, let's just say, complications of war are pretty alarming. Alongside what we're seeing now internally, the federal government has ordered ICE agents not to remove their masks, not to abide by California law, which is setting up a federal and state clash. Many people have suggested Gavin Newsom will just back down. But all of this has asking questions about where we currently are at as a country. Russia is threatening to go to war with us, saying that NATO already declared war on them and not to shoot down their planes, which have violated NATO airspace, including ours, reportedly. Trump talking about bombing Venezuela with drones. All I can say is, holy crap. Now, we're going to talk about all that, but before we do, we got a great sponsor tonight. It is Beam Dream. My friends, I love Beam Dream. I drink it every single night. Go to shopbeam.com/TimPool. And you'll get to 35% off. Beam Dream has there's a bunch of different drinks, but I like the cinnamon cocoa, hot cocoa. You drink it right before bed. I do every single night. I've been drinking the brownie batter one because I ran out of the cocoa one. It's got L-theanine, it's got magnesium, it's got melatonin. It is amazing. I literally do drink it every night. My sleep score has been 95, 96, 100. I use this Sleep 8 sleep tracker thing. Absolutely incredible, and I absolutely recommend it. 15 calories, no added sugar. Go to shopbeam.com/TimPool. Check it out. Shout out to Beam for sponsoring the show. And don't forget to go to timcast.com. Click join us and get in that Discord community as everything seems to be breaking apart, and we look, I honestly don't know what's going to happen in this country. Community is the most important thing. Having networks, having connections, people who can help you out, people you can help out. Building a culture is the most important thing we can do. And as a member, you're helping sustain the work that we do. So go to timcast.com, click join us.
Hey, look on the right, there's that beautiful man 2 times. Look at that in the upper left and the upper right. I'm so good looking.
Why is there 2 Ians?
I'm the hottest man on earth, Tim.
That is a weird thing.
That is bizarre.
Phil's shrugging at it. Ian is on the website twice.
I told you I was going to win.
Must be a coding error.
One is AI.
Anyway, yeah. Smash the like button, my friends. Share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Christian Maxwell.
Hi, well, pleasure to be here with you guys. This is going to be great.
Who are you? What do you do?
So my name is Christian Maxwell. I'm running for Congress in Illinois. I'm running as a Republican, which is what people do not do. They usually tell you to sneak in as an independent and just then do all the Republican things. But I definitely decided to run as a loud and proud Republican because it's how I live.
How's the reaction, though? Chicago has been ruled by Democrats for 100 years.
It has, but if you look at Illinois and how it voted during that last election, it's a red state. It is a red state with a big blue dot. So I think that right now Illinois is at a precipice where they understand that they can't go another 4 years, another 2 years with all these blue representatives who truly don't care about the future of the state. So it's really time for a change to happen.
It is pretty funny, actually. This happens periodically where we'll book a guest and it will be weird news timing because the riots from ICE are happening just outside of Chicago.
Literally.
And there's a big conversation about what the federal law enforcement should be doing, National Guard. So this is perfect. We'll talk about this. Thanks for hanging out. We got Ian hanging out.
Everybody, good to be here. Ian Crossland in the house. Let's just get to it. Hey, Phil. I was going to describe myself. There's too many words.
Yeah. It's too hard to encapsulate in just one sentence.
You know me.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All the Urmans. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
Here's the story from Axios Chicago. Broadview ICE protests grow despite fence and gas. And apparently it is ongoing. Now, the crazy thing about this is that we've got these videos. The first thing I want to play for you, and earmuffs for the kids. This may be a bit vulgar, but I think the context is important. It's from Blaze Media. This is in the early stages of the protest. Listen to this.
Arrest ICE! Arrest ICE! Arrest ICE! Shoot ICE! Shoot ICE! Shoot the fucker! Shoot the fucker!
Yeah.
Okay, I think you heard that already. Now, that's important context when you begin to look at where we're going from there with this video from BG on the scene. So for those that are just listening, you have a crowd of people blocking and obstructing an ICE vehicle. Savannah Hernandez tweets, "It's a serious failure on behalf of the Trump administration, and the fact that ICE vehicles are still being mobbed and nothing is being done about it is quite frankly embarrassing. ICE agents were just shot at and almost killed, and the admin continues to allow this." We have this video from Nick Sorter. This is a Fox News report.
Just a second, but we want to go back to the protests at the Broadview ICE facility in Illinois that Mike Tobin was reporting on all morning. You've got some breaking news on that.
Yeah, we have about 200 protesters there on the ground. We actually had our law enforcement just confiscate a firearm from one of these protesters, or really rioters are what they are, as they're obstructing law enforcement vehicles from being able to enter that facility. And John, this is just 2 days after we saw that vicious, disgusting attack on our law enforcement facility down in Dallas, where one detainee was killed and two are currently in serious condition. And that psychopath opened fire indiscriminately on our ICE law enforcement, on the facility and on the van. And the fact that there is now a firearm, or there was a firearm there in Chicago, is very alarming.
I think people need to understand as well, the vehicles in the ICE terror attack were not buses. They were white vans, is my understanding. And so the individual who fired on them did not know. It seems that they were detainee transport. And it seems that they were just shooting on ICE vehicles thinking they were targeting law enforcement, ended up hitting these detainees. We're at a rock and a hard place. Can we really say that this is a protest? We are well past the point where we can tolerate people wearing masks, bringing weapons, and physically attacking law enforcement vehicles when we are dealing with this degree of terrorism. So perhaps 5-10 years ago, we could tolerate that this is not free speech.
No.
It's a riot, but do we want to escalate by arresting? And the cops often would say, let's just push through it. But now that it's gotten to the level where we've had, I think, 3 terror attacks on ICE facilities in 3 months, this is no longer a matter of free speech. Technically, 10 years ago, this is still illegal. You want to protest, you want to hold signs outside the facility, that's free speech. When you start physically attacking their vehicles to any degree after these terror attacks happen, I got to say, to Sam's point, why isn't the Trump admin just saying, lock them up? I
agree. I wholeheartedly think these people should be locked up. They are obstructing these officials and doing their work. And when you're tampering with people who are doing carrying out missions like this, like, you really are getting involved in something that's very dangerous. They're trying to arrest somebody in general is a really precarious situation. Having someone hurling insults and getting very close to you with phones, trying to divulge your identity, is not what those men signed up for. ICE agents, law enforcement officials, they deserve to go home and to be safe. They are law-abiding citizens. Why are we not on the side of our law-abiding citizens who are doing their job, trying to protect our country? I don't understand.
So, to your point, Tim, like, the fact that this has been going on for a decade or more is actually why we've gotten to the point where there are actual murders, happening at ICE facilities. These types of behaviors need to be shut down as soon as they happen. So that way, people like the people that are amassed outside of this particular facility don't think that they can get away with saying things like arrest ICE, shoot ICE, etc. They should all get arrested. Like, anyone out there, they should go and get the local law enforcement should come, and they should wrap them all up, and they should all get charged. I don't know what the charges exactly would be, but they should all get, inhibiting the lawful execution of
and
law
assault.
enforcement duties.
If you're touching them, then get them for assault on a law.
Every single law that they've broken, and it's all on video because they've got cameras. Every law they've broken, they should be prosecuted for.
I agree.
And that should happen at every ICE facility, everywhere across the country.
It should be such a notice put out that people are like, you know what, it's not worth the risk. And their meetings, they meet before they do this. They don't just pop up. They had a strategy meeting and they decided that this was worth the risk. You know why they said it was worth the risk? Because Pritzker told them.
Yeah.
And Brandon Johnson told them, we are going to push back. They're literally, when Pritzker did that speech and said conservatives should know no peace, he laid the groundwork for what happened. Oh yeah, pull up the speech. He literally said they should. He said
Pritzker said that.
He said they should know no peace. He said it in a speech. I think he was on the East Coast when he said it, and it enraged Illinoisans because it was basically like a kind of like putting out a war message.
Well, it's April. The Republicans cannot know a moment of peace.
That laid the groundwork for what we saw happen to Charlie Kirk. He went on a tour telling people to wage war against conservatives and Republicans.
Yeah. I've been saying this for the past couple of days. If there are any politicians out there, whether they be state level or they be federal level, if you truly believe that that it is time for the temperature to come down in the United States, what you need to do is get out in front of a camera somewhere and say, we need people to allow ICE to do their job.
Yes.
That is a simple, basic, easy to do, low bar, real easy kind of thing to ask for. And it's every single person that's an elected official should say, we want law enforcement to be able to safely do their job. And if you can't do that, then you don't actually want de-escalation. You want more escalation. You want more violence.
Mobilization for disruption. But I am now.
I'm gonna start it over.
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption. But I am now.
It was evil.
Whoops. Just real quick.
I'm
wondering why not a single Republican has said anything like that. Ever.
Never.
Disruption.
No, we don't wage war.
But I am now.
I mean, I was into mass non-compliance during the COVID mandates.
Yeah.
I said I would.
These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box.
He's forgetting one part of that quote. When he said the soapbox and the ballot box, there's an implied statement because the rest of that poem is, or phrase, or whatever you want to call it. Do you know what it is, Ian?
No. I've heard it before, though.
It's you castigate them at the soapbox, you beat them at the ballot box, or you load the cartridge box.
Oh.
Right.
But he even goes on to say, basically risk life and limb. Like, this speech was really toxic. It was really bad.
So tonight I'm telling you what I'm willing to do, and that's fight for our democracy, for our liberty, for the opportunity for all of our people to live lives that are meaningful and free. And I see around me tonight a room full of people who are ready to do the same. So I have one question for all of you, Granite Staters. Are you ready for the fight?
So you are in the right place.
The 4 boxes of liberty, it's called.
Yeah.
And it's the soapbox, the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box.
Wow.
That's
what they're calling for him to be impeached right now in whatever it's called in Illinois.
Will he go to prison like the rest of the governors?
He needs to. I mean, it's like a rite of passage in Illinois. If you serve in office, you end up going to prison for a
You're
long time.
not really a governor if you don't go to prison.
You got to go spend some
time.
time.
Are you really a hometown, local, born and bred if you don't go to prison after serving office?
I mean,
you at least have to be indicted, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, he laid the groundwork for a lot of this violence. He gave people permission to be as violent, to lean into their violent delights. Yeah. And he made it where it went from people debating to now they're like, you know what? I don't care if I get hit by a car. I don't care if I have to.
All of the proper responses to that kind of rhetoric are TOS violations.
This is actually crazy. Let me read. I think many people are familiar with the 4 boxes of liberty. Yeah. Wikipedia says the soapbox represents exercising one's right to freedom of speech, to influence politics, to defend liberty. The ballot box represents exercising one's right to vote, to elect a government, to defend liberty. The jury box represents jury nullification, to refuse to convict someone being prosecuted for breaking an unjust law that decreases liberty. And the cartridge box represents exercising one's right to keep and bear arms to oppose, in armed conflict, a tyrannical government. The 4 boxes represent increasingly forceful methods of political action. We've already seen all of them. Yeah. They have marched to the streets. They have voted. They lost the speech issue to the culture. They have lost the voting issue. Now what are we seeing? They are not prosecuting the criminals. They're letting them go.
Yes.
And we've seen them shoot and kill.
Yeah.
More than one person.
I love the jury nullification opportunity. I'd like to see it imposed more righteously once in a while in the United States. But the Pritzker saying fight, I mean, that rhetoric is very
dangerous.
Yes.
Have you even noticed how Brandon
I don't mind the word fight.
Because it means like two kids fighting in their living room, you know, like two brothers. You're arguing, you're pushing.
It is so benign compared to the other things that they've said. Like fight, you can fight in an argument is a fight. When you get into an argument with your significant other, you say, "Well, I got into a fight with my girlfriend." Right? You didn't beat her up. You got into a fight with her, and people understand that. But there are other things that he said that are far more egregious than fight. Fight is the very basic bottom of the barrel kind of thing. He said that's inconsequential. Honestly,
I think it's lazy though, because like you get into a firefight, you know, like troops can get into a fight.
But it's a gunfight is different than an argument.
Interpretation on purpose though, because for a person who's toxic in the mind, a person who's mentally unhealthy, when they hear fight, they're like, you know what, we've talked about it long enough, like you said. So what are they going to think about, you know, when it comes to that?
Yeah, but Trump said you got to fight like hell, you know, and they claimed that was insurrection for January 6th. The word fight is typical political rhetoric for decades, even in times of peace. So I try to be careful with that one. The bigger concern is when he starts invoking the boxes of liberty.
Yeah.
Because the implied statement there is, if this does not work, you know what I'm asking you to do.
And to be honest with you, in New Hampshire, that kind of rhetoric it's far more impactful in a place like New Hampshire, because New Hampshire takes their liberty very seriously. The people that he was actually talking to understood that in a different way than, say, the people of California would.
Well, there was that dude who threatened to kill the governor, right?
Yes.
Was working on making bombs or whatever in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So I do think it's fair to say the rhetoric does need to be toned down across the board. I don't care. I'm not going to play any partisan games. But the problem is, seemingly the right has no problem with doing it. Like, I've made videos where I said, I don't care if you're on the left or on the right. Everybody should tone it down. We don't want violence. Cooler heads must prevail. And then you look at what the left is saying, and they're escalating.
They're deranged.
You said at the top of the segment that it's a rock and a hard place. And I think it is, because what from that other perspective, like, why are they aggressively getting in the way of, why are they beating on cars of ICE? People in those cities often and sometimes think that my friends are now being taken away from me. And they may be here legally for 7 years, but they're my friends. No, bro. What other choice do I have?
No. They don't know these people.
Sometimes.
There's
the real people who
a really great example is it's Ben Bankus, right? That's the comedian we had on. Yeah. I was watching one of his Instagram clips, and he was talking about, he was doing a bit about ICE, and a heckler yells, the U.S. citizens are getting deported. He's only deported citizens. And then Ben is like, what citizen? And they're like, the guy from Maryland.
The Maryland man?
And he says, that was a green card holder with a bunch of crimes. And they're like, no, he did nothing wrong. Petty offenses.
Did you see that guy actually had a record for he got detained or pulled over by an officer, and he was actually trafficking other men?
He got criminally charged for human smuggling.
He was tracking.
The point is, these people that you're talking about, Ian, have no idea what's going on. No. They don't look into it. And that's why you can have an individual like you or me with certain like liberal economic views, but we'll be called right wing because we know the truth. Because we say things like, "Oh, that guy was from El Salvador and was caught smuggling humans." They go, "You're lying. You're right wing."
I've been trying to wiggle out of this hard place that The Rock is pushing against, and I'm thinking like, what if the government stops targeting anyone that's been here for 12 years and can speak fluent English?
Nope.
Like. Because if they're really integral part of the community and they're well understood,
just because they can speak English and they've been here for a long time doesn't mean they're an integral.
A lot of people,
most
people in the world are almost bilingual. It's just an American thing to only be mono.
Let me play this clip from Ben for you guys. This is actually pretty good, and he's a funny guy. Let's load it up. Make sure we can get the audio going.
We're citizens. That's not possible. But that's fake news, I think. Name one citizen that's been deported. Besides Ellen DeGeneres. She did it self-deported. No, but I'm curious, who's been deported? The guy from Maryland. Right. This is what everybody says. He's just a Maryland man. He's just a Maryland man. What was his name? Rodrigo Gonzalez. He's guilty. If your name's not Jeff, you're going. But he wasn't a citizen. He was a green card holder.
Not even a green card holder.
He got arrested like 4 times.
That's insane.
I think his wife had a protection order against him.
But he's
wow.
a citizen.
Lefty
See,
gypsy.
this is why one day when you're like 45 and single after 3 abortions, you look back on this night while living in your bachelor apartment that you can barely afford on government welfare checks. And you're going to go, fuck, I was wrong.
Okay, that dude's very funny, and that was good.
That was good.
I don't blame a comedian for not knowing anything about Kilmar or Abrego Garcia. No. But the point, the reason I bring this up is how the audience, this woman was willing to yell at a comedian at a comedy show. First of all, why heckle?
Yeah.
But she was so sure of herself that she said he was a citizen who got deported, and they were petty offenses, petty charges. This guy was suspected of smuggling humans, and the feds told the cops to let him go.
Multiple times.
He had beaten his wife on more than one occasion, according to her own accusations. And he was from El Salvador, not a citizen, and he had an order of deportation, but he had a protection order to not be deported to that place, and he's still pending deportation now, I think, to like Uganda.
Yeah. His home country doesn't want him back.
Well,
Don't blame him.
I think the argument they're making is he can't go back because of the fear of death or whatever. So the argument from the Trump admin is like, well, then we can send him literally anywhere else.
But he can't stay here.
And this is really funny. The latest update is that apparently his lawyer submitted a fear of death from like just a whole bunch of random countries. So they looked at it and they went, Uganda, I guess.
Yeah, that's what
they were like, bro, if that's a game you want to play, we'll keep playing.
Oh.
Yeah, look, I don't care if their home country won't take them. I don't care where they send them. Just send them away. I mean, the home country of these people, they have the responsibility to allow them in. If they've been sent out of their country because they're criminals, that doesn't mean it's our responsibility to take them and to let them stay here. And if there is a place where, a third country that's like, man, we don't give a crap, and we can send them there, send them there.
Take one off.
I don't care if it's Uganda or somewhere in Africa or somewhere else in South America. Or look, I'm still pro Gitmo. Send them to Gitmo.
Here's the thing, like this, having immigration happen like this, where there's no checks and balances, it causes real harm. Chicago recently had a measles outbreak. They had a measles outbreak at the immigration facilities where these people were living. So, as you know, a lot of Venezuelans were coming to Chicago, and during the time that they were coming from Venezuela, they were actually having a measles outbreak in Venezuela. So here's the thing. A lot of these people will get so mad at a person who's like, hey, I don't want to get all the vaccines. But then they'll be like, hey, let people come in here with no checks and balances, no health checks, and bring in diseases that have kind of been eradicated in our country. We're okay with that, but let a mom down in Texas say, oh, I don't want to vaccinate my kids, and now that woman is a terrorist and her kids should be taken.
Yeah, it's
But a lady on the street can have her kids strapped to her back all day, not going to school, and they're spreading measles at facilities, and that's okay. So I think that right now, Americans in general are really fatigued with the lack of just reality that these people are in touch with, because it can't be okay for a person to come from a whole other country with diseases that have been eradicated in America, but let a mom, like I said, in Texas or in Illinois say she doesn't want vaccines, and it's like, this person is evil, but the other one is not, and it's not problematic, and should stay, and should not be forced to vaccinate, and can go to school, can go to public schools where teachers can't speak to the kid, and the kid can't speak to the teacher, because they are actually in CPS schools.
I heard there was. I got a question, because I haven't been back in Chicago for any meaningful amount of time. The holidays, right?
Yeah.
But there was this story I saw where they wanted to build an immigration camp in a park, and then it was actually in the black community where they revolted, being like, don't you dare do this. What happened with that?
So one of them was actually in a hotel. You may be talking about the one that was in a hotel. I'm not sure. It could be.
They were like trying to build something in a park or something.
They were investing all over black communities and just taking over things, like I said, abandoned hotels. And they were paying like hundreds of thousands of dollars for these hotels to be converted into migrant shelters. So what you would have is that the police would have to patrol much more often around the migrant shelters. You had the fire department coming out nonstop because they would have like 7 people in a room in these shelters. And the city was paying tons of money for hotels to be converted for these people. And it was causing a big uptick in crime. So the people actually pushed back in one Hyde Park community. Chicago Flips Red was a big part of it. And it really helped for those people to actually get that shelter shut down, because they were about to really transform it permanently and make it a part of the community where people have black Chicagoans. And here's the thing, black Chicagoans have held down the Democratic Party. But they even had to say, hey, what's going on? Because these are diehard Hyde Park residents who've invested and you're telling them that now they're going to be living down the street from a migrant shelter where I think the occupancy was supposed to be like 400 people for a hotel, but they were going to like 3 or 4 exit for migrants to be in there. And it's like, it's just not safe. Like a lot of times if you come to Chicago, it's interesting. So you'll like order DoorDash and it says it's going to be a lady named Susan dropping off your food. And then a guy who's clearly of like, either Venezuelan or El Salvadorian rolls up on his Vespa. And it's like, that's not, I don't even go to the door anymore for my DoorDash because I'm like, it's usually a man on a woman's account.
Yeah, we dealt with this. We talked about it too. A car will pull up and it'll say like Mike S for your driver. And then it'll be like some Hispanic guy or whatever. Yes. And he'll go, he's my brother.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, whoa. And so now we have a policy of like, everyone's got to give IDs.
Yeah.
So vehicle pulls up and it'll say like Sarah and it's a guy.
That's smart.
And we're like, turn around. And they're like, what? And it's like, DoorDash has a serious problem with
better.
this.
It's not safe.
For us, in terms of, we have very serious security issues. Mm-hmm. So when strangers pull up saying, here's the food, please eat it, we're like, nah.
That's actually smart.
Not going to eat that food from a strange person who's not listed properly.
Yep. I didn't even think about that. Because my assumption is that, I think that in Chicago right now what's happening is that they are basically using DoorDash and all these little, gig economies to just run it's their new form of economy for these people that they've trafficked to the city. And they have them on these accounts and they're just setting up accounts and that has to be how they're doing it. But the issue right now, like I said, Chicago has been destabilized. That's why you see Mayor Johnson actually just called for, I think, CPD to cut their budget by $100 million. Do you know what Mayor Johnson has been? Yeah.
How is his approval rating not like negative?
Oh, because he's backed by the CTU, which is the entire every teacher in Chicago is under the thumb of Stacey Davis Gates, and he's a product of CPS. He was a teacher. He was a social studies teacher, and he got to play with the city now. But he wants CPD to cut their budget because he overspent on his migrant population, who's supposed to elect him again.
Did you look at the election data by neighborhood when he got elected?
I've looked at some of it, but I know that when I look at the overall turnout, the turnout was actually really low for the race in general. Like you would think that it would be like 500 to 600,000 people who came out and voted. It wasn't.
Well, but like,
it was really
so
low.
I took the election map showing which neighborhood voted for which candidate, and then I took the neighborhood breakdown by race, and they overlap. Wow. So in the Hispanic areas, they all voted for the Hispanic guy. In the white areas, they voted for the white guy. In the black neighborhoods, so in the black neighborhoods, all the top 3 candidates were all the black candidates, even if they weren't even the top polling in the city. Yeah. Brandon Johnson was able to win because one neighborhood deviated. It's a white neighborhood that did not vote for the white candidate. Wow. Loyola.
Oh.
Voted for Brandon Johnson, put him over the edge, and that's how you ended up getting a
Isn't he from out closer to that area?
Maybe.
I think so.
It was a bunch of, the presumption was socialist university kids voted for the socialist.
They did.
And now the city is just worse off.
I actually know I know quite a few older Chicagoans who voted for Paul Vallis because that was what they resonated with. A lot of older black Chicagoans are more conservative in their mindset. They just hate the idea of a Republican. Yep. So they voted for Paul Vallis, but what really failed during that election was that runoff. People didn't come back out.
Oh, yeah.
Turnout is such a big issue in Chicago. And if for any conservative candidates or Republican candidates, you got to be willing to bus people to the polls like Democrats do. They bus the voters in. They bus them in, and then they mail them those ballots, and they win the race before the race even starts.
You know what's crazy, though? My neighborhood voted for Trump.
Yeah.
A Chicago neighborhood voted for Donald Trump.
It's becoming more popular.
Yep. Yeah, my neighborhood's a lot of, like, firefighters and cops. And so these people of all different racial backgrounds are just like, nah.
Well, because they're living, if you go like on the South Side neighborhoods like that are still standing strong, like the Mountain Greenwoods, Evergreen Parks, Oak Lawn, Beverly, a lot of these places they're holding on by a thread. And it really just comes down to the fact, like you said, a lot of them are first responders. Yep. They're actually investing in their communities. Their kids go to the schools in the communities, and they're doing everything that they can to hold on. But they're fighting against like a force of dysfunction. And it's like, you have to get Chicago under control. You have to get it under control because it's even spilling out into like Orland. It's spilling out into Orland. The theft is going in every direction.
My buddy was telling me, so a couple of my buddies still lived in the area for a while. I left a while ago. And the policy that Chicago's had in these high crime gang neighborhoods, largely black, has been to just bulldoze them. Like LeClaire Courts is a really great example. Yeah. They said, we're going to rebuild this for you, so we're temporarily relocating you. Never did.
Nope, they just left them in the suburbs.
Exactly. And Andy, who works here, he's like, all the gangs just moved into other areas, and the crime just got worse. Yep. They grew and expanded. The city has not dealt with any of these problems. And then it's funny because Trump says, let me tell you. Apparently, one of the last things, I think Trump said the last thing Charlie Kirk asked him was, Mr. President, please save Chicago. Because Charlie's from Arlington Heights.
Yep.
And Trump's talking about sending in the National Guard or the feds. And these politicians like Pritzker, look, fine, I don't live there anymore. There's a reason why I left.
I know.
But he's like, you can't come in here. We won't let you. And I'm like,
Safe. He's walking on the lakefront. Have you seen his lakefront videos? He's like, I'm on the south side of the lake.
oh, yeah.
I'm on the south side of the lake. It's so safe at 6 a.m. I'm like, well, they just went to sleep for the night. The criminals do go to sleep during the day. They sleep during the day and they do their crime at night.
Well, the other thing, too, is they go to wealthy areas. They don't rob their own neighborhoods.
Oh, there is no money in their own neighborhood.
Exactly.
They go steal a charger from somebody in the hood, and then they go race downtown. Literally at night, if we ever on the highway at like 8 o'clock, we make sure we stay out of the left lane because there's chargers zooming towards downtown.
Jeez.
Like they're on their way.
Let's jump to this next story. We got this from The Hill. Trump administration orders federal authorities to ignore California mask law. The Trump admin ordered federal authorities Friday to ignore new legislation in California banning law enforcement officers from wearing masks. Gavin Newsom last Saturday signed the bill, which is slated to take effect January 1st, 2026, making face coverings of local, state, and federal officials a misdemeanor crime and imposing a civil penalty against officers for tortious conduct. Governor Newsom is confused about his role under the U.S. Constitution. Bill Escalation, acting U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, said in a Friday Post on X, he oversees California, not federal agencies. He should review the Supremacy Clause. California's law to unmask federal agents is unconstitutional as the state lacks jurisdiction to interfere with federal law enforcement. I have directed federal agencies to disregard this state law and adhere to federal law and agency policies, Escalation wrote. This is where things start getting spicy because although we got a couple of months until this law kicks in. The question is, will Newsom actually try to impose penalties, misdemeanor crimes, potential charges against ICE, or will he just sit there with his, hands tied behind his back effectively because he can't do anything?
And say that they're criminals. If he just tells the people they're violating the law, now they're criminals, and put that out there.
Well, I think that California already rolls like that. So I used to work in the beauty industry, and you would have to have a whole different rule set up for your beauty product based on California, like California law. Like there's so many, even with like trucking, like when trucks drive into California, it's a whole new set of rules they have to abide by. So I think that for them, they've already set multiple precedences where they're used to having their own set of California specific rules. So I don't necessarily know if Newsom is just going to stand down because that's not the California way.
He's not going to do anything.
He's not.
I don't think that he's going to do anything. This is all posturing.
You think so?
He'll go ahead. They won't actually try to arrest any federal agents, and like Ian said, I think he'll just go ahead and say, "Look, I passed this law, and these are criminal ICE agents. They're breaking the law. Look at how bad Trump is. His Gestapo, and all he's going to do is use it to turn up the rhetoric, which is bad in and of itself, right? Like this is an escalation, and whatever he does beyond this is also another escalation, but I don't think that he'll go so far as to have his local law enforcement actually have a confrontation with federal law enforcement because he doesn't want to. I can't imagine that he wants to see any of his own local law enforcement guys get shot. He doesn't want to see a gunfight between two different law enforcement agencies. And he doesn't actually want to take on the federal government in a kinetic way. He wants to take on Trump in a battle of rhetoric, and he wants to look tough so that way because he wants to run for president. So if they get into a gunfight,
he wants to stay viable.
If they get into a gunfight, there's no way he's going to win the presidency.
The only reason I'm still just concerned is because the temperature, like you talked about, the temperature is up so high. And now they're to the point of they don't want to just posture. They're fatigued with posturing. And I think that on our side, we're like, oh, nobody in their right mind is going to do that. But the people that are behind a Newsom, they want to see action now. And I think that that's something we have to be mindful of.
There was a video I just saw today where a bunch of conservatives were at a memorial for Charlie Kirk, and it was painted on a bridge. And some guy he's filming himself with a camera on his body, walks up with spray paint, shakes it up, and then immediately starts trying to desecrate the memorial, and immediately gets repelled.
Yeah.
And then starts threatening people. I love this. He goes, "You can't touch me. You can't touch me." And it's like, bro, I've heard that there's so many of these videos. Have you guys seen the video where the dude tries robbing the CVS, and he's got these huge bags and a mask on? And then somebody just grabs him, puts him in a chokehold, and slams him down while the guy's yelling, "You can't touch me." And I'm like, bro, that's not going to fly with people who don't care anymore, right? So they end up pepper spraying the dude.
Yeah.
And then there's like 3 other leftists, and they're like, "You can't do this to us. How do you?" And it's like, dude, no one is going to tolerate these leftists acting this way. And, you know, to Phil's point he made just a moment ago in the previous segment, these people have been able to go out with impunity and firebomb ICE buildings in 2020 for 100+ days. And Trump didn't do anything about it. So there are, I mean, think about this. 5 years ago, there's a 13-year-old. He logs on to Facebook or X or Instagram, whatever's watching TikTok, and he sees these far leftists lobbing explosives at a federal building. 5 years later, he's like, why can't I? You don't get in trouble for it. And so now he's out there on the ground with these people doing it. People don't realize, man, time, 5 years, it's not that long. You are going to see more and more people being told it is okay to do this. That's why I'm saying Trump needs to start arresting these people for the threats. These people at the ICE facility need to be arrested. And a message is now sent. So that way, when there's a 13 or 14-year-old who logs on that TikTok or whatever, they see you get arrested and they see people crying and they say, I ain't doing that.
No, because you don't want to go to county.
Oh, man.
You need to have the risk of going to
county.
county with real hardened criminals who are waiting for you to come in there. Like, that needs to be the risk. And I think, like you say, normalizing bad behavior and normalizing that you can put your hands on law enforcement and get that close to them is not something it's just not a safe thing to do. You don't touch law enforcement.
I think, you know, people who don't live in Chicago don't understand what it means to go to county.
Oh, man. County is rough. I mean, like, it's not just a quick stay. Those guys are in there for, what, up to a year? You can stay in county for a year.
And
like,
so
it's real criminals.
There's two thoughts about it. So what is it like? It's like what is it like California, or I can't remember the address, the street that it's on.
Oh yeah, it's California.
On California Avenue or whatever. And so some of these people are in county lockup pending transfer for like waiting trial for serious murder, and their attitude is like, I ain't going nowhere, so I can do whatever I want. So what's scary for a lot of people with county is you might get a charge where you're looking at 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
You go to county. And then some guy starts a beef with you who's like, bro, I'm in here for the rest of my life. And then what happens if you get into a fight? You get more time.
Yep.
And so people are terrified for a variety of reasons. Plus the gangs run out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to county. No.
No, and it needs to be a real risk. Like, if you're like a college kid, like, you need to really be thinking about this. Like, no, there's no amount of bail getting you out of here.
Could you imagine like a woke white liberal woman in county
In
lockup
county?
trying to tell like some 30-year-old gangbanger about how oppressed he is?
Yeah, even these, I mean, if you're in there with these hardened chicks, like, they're nothing to play with. I think that, like you said, it just you have to have normalcy. We need to return to normalcy and return to common sense. Like, the normal person is never going to go touch a law enforcement official. It doesn't occur to me to touch them. So we need to normalize that for more of the population. Like, that's just the only way forward.
We're in such strange times, like they're abnormal times with this 20+ million surge of illegal immigrants, and that people have been either brainwashed into believing that they're the rebel alliance and that the empire is coming with their stormtroopers all masked up to take their people away.
The new Jewish people. They've made the migrants the new Jewish people. They really have. And I think that's so weird to co-opt the Jewish story. And also they also look at these people like the new slaves. Like, they'll kind of tell me like, oh, you're going to be like a person like me. Like, oh, this was you just a little bit ago. And it's like, hey, it actually wasn't.
Yeah, that was me never.
No.
I was never enslaved.
Like, I was never enslaved. And also slaves didn't like hop over here. That's not even like the story. And it's like, to make it seem like I should be okay with illegal aliens coming into the country. I'm like, I'm an American. And I think that for a lot of Black people, they need to really identify much more heavily with being Americans. We are not slaves anymore. We are American citizens with all the rights and privileges of being American citizens. And for the Democratic Party to continue to tell us that we are not, and that we're actually second-class citizens who at any point could get deported with illegal aliens, because that's the rhetoric they tell us, it could be you. You're going to get enslaved. No, we're not. No, we're not.
Yeah. It really is this amazing contrast between Clarence Thomas and Ketanji Brown Jackson. Okay. And like, Clarence Thomas is one of the greatest thinkers of our lifetime, and Ketanji Brown Jackson is real dumb.
Genius and stupidity don't care about your race.
Right.
No.
Everybody's got it.
No, but she's a really bad influence for Black women in general, and that's why you see a lot of Black women following in her footsteps. It's like the Jasmine Crockett syndrome. This is why it's been normalized for Black women to feel like, oh, let me go and get really educated, but not evolve.
Well, she fakes it.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing, is that she's a well-educated, professional individual who decided, I'm going to act like I'm ghetto and play this character up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, it's either play like you're a civil rights activist or play like you're ghetto and about that life. It's like, you're not, she literally walks around Congress or walks around the Capitol Hill with like security around her. I'm like, you're not about that life. You're actually quite scared. You're quite shook about the attention that you have. But
where's she from?
She's from St. Louis. She's actually from close to my
Okay,
area.
all right,
From
St. Louis.
downstate
I'll give her
Yeah,
some
she
credit
went-
for St.
her
Louis.
father's a preacher. She went to schools that cost like $30,000 a year. Like this woman is not what she portrays at all, and it really.
Okay, so West, not East St. Louis.
No, she, no. I'm from East St. Louis, and I'm like, I'm from East St. Louis, an area where people are terrified.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, to go to, and I'm like, I don't act like that. So why do you act like that? And you're from St. Louis.
Yeah, crossing the river is like when
a big deal.
it gets bad. Yup.
No, it gets really bad. East St. Louis is probably considered a dead town at this point. But my grandma
Man.
still lives there. Yeah.
It's crazy too with like AOC, Jasmine Crockett. I mean, is she a squad member now? Is that or no?
Which one, Jasmine Crockett?
Yeah.
I don't know if she's actually a member of the squad.
I don't know if
I'm
there's
sure
a squad
she's-
anymore
she's
because
an
like
honorary
they
member.
lost like 3 squad members, so the squad broke up. Is that what happened?
I feel like Jasmine Crockett is mad at them because they didn't want her to be, you know, they were like, no, you can't lead the committee. What was it, the
She's
oversight
like,
committee?
I'm petty like that.
Yeah, they knocked her off of that because she's not really one of their team.
I'm going to ask again because I didn't get the answer I wanted last time. But okay, so what's the difference here? There's people that have been here illegally for 5 or 6 years that don't speak English. They came in the surge, Biden's surge, versus people that have been here over a decade that speak fluent English, that have a lot of friends and family in the community.
Well, what are you asking? Because that's the distinction,
That
right?
we should not use ICE to deport people that are integral now, that have integrated, even if they're illegal.
Well, the priority of the Trump administration is not those people.
No.
But they'll
Some of
grab
them-
them anyway if they.
Well, I don't think the proper way to describe it is they'll get them anyway. I think it's that they've been looking for active orders of deportation, and they're typically targeting. They want to go after the
People with a
criminals.
yeah.
Some kind of heavy crime or multiple infractions. Some of these people are a guy who lived in an area for a long time, but he has an infraction. I don't think there's actually any big national stories of like a guy whose only offense was an order of deportation who worked at a grocery store or anything.
Yeah.
Typically, even when the left puts up these videos where it's like, there's one right now of a guy screaming "Ayúdame," or no, there's one where
That means
a guy.
listen to me.
No, it means help me.
Oh, it does. Okay. So
Yeah. There's
Español es no bueno, no.
So there's a video where a guy is at a car and they throw him down and he's screaming in Spanish, "Please, please, I just want to see my family."
Yeah.
And all these libs are going, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
he was a pedophile."
Oh.
Yeah, and it's like, guys, what are you doing?
I believe what you're saying, actually, but that the people that are here 10, 12 years integrated, working at the grocery store with no criminal record, except for are terrified that they will be grabbed. So maybe we could give them federal immunity.
Why?
If they can prove that they've been here over a decade.
So
I
like,
just think it does a disservice to immigrants who go through the actual thorough process. And that's the one thing we have to protect is the process of immigration. Those people know more about America than we do a lot of times. Like they have to learn so much about this country. They pay so much money to become American citizens, and it takes so much time. So it really does, in order to say, hey, you're okay, for the person who came in at 12, the same time period as the person who came illegally, it's like, well, why did I go through all of this and wait? Or even people who are seeking, asylum, where you have to wait to come into the country for asylum.
You're supposed to go to a port of entry.
Yeah.
And if there's a country
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
between the country you originated at and the United States that actually is safe, you're supposed to stop there. Ian?
and apply there.
Deport them. Yeah, you're supposed to.
So I have a pitch for you,
Deport
Ian.
them.
I've been thinking about this.
Gotta
You
go.
know, I was reading the other day about a guy, and they called it a bank robbery. Can you believe this? This poor man, he was just making an undocumented withdrawal from the bank. And I said, why don't we? I mean, look, it's been a couple years since the undocumented withdrawal. He's used the money to work and live in his home, and he built it up. Why arrest him at this point?
do you think all the people that have Bitcoin that didn't report it to the government should go to prison?
Do I think people that have violated tax law should go to prison?
They just have Bitcoin and didn't ever report it.
Yeah, so you know what happens is they send you a bill. You don't go to prison.
The government doesn't know they have it. They have it offshore. They have it. They don't tell. They have cold storage. Like, should those people be hunted down?
If you want to have a debate over the morality of tax law, we can.
just law in general,
tax and murder and undocumented, they're all
undocumented.
They're all
immigration
distinct things.
and tax.
So
Well, I think
you're
illegal
comparing
aliens
apples to oranges.
It's like
They're very different
trespassing.
things.
And I'll tell you this: the answer is the people who bought Bitcoin and have made a lot of money out of it should pay their taxes.
Yeah.
Now we can have a debate over how we should handle tax law as it pertains to this country and how I feel about taxes and all that. But if the argument is these people knew full well that buying crypto and then making a massive gain on that would require them paying capital gains when they actually see the return, and then they intentionally hid that from the government. Well, I have a problem with that.
Also,
That's
you
illegal,
don't have to-
and I'm not going to cut. But here's the thing: often when you have tax stuff like this, I said this of Hunter Biden. Usually the IRS just says, "Hey, dude, you owe us."
money.
They don't come and lock you up unless there's something egregious that you did.
We talked about jury nullification earlier, about a jury being like, look, the law, it may be the law, but it's not just. And I think that with the illegal, because if we just go hardcore, everyone go, you'll just see more and more resistance.
I have a good
What is
analogy.
unjust about sending people back, though?
So listen, what about this analogy? So what if we're talking about a squatter instead? Because my family has land in Arkansas and they have squatters on it. So say you have a squatter in a house and they've been there for like 12 years. Is that house ever theirs? Is it more theirs now today than it was when they first started squatting, when they broke in and decided this is my house now? Should that person who actually owns that house not be able to get their house back because the person's been there for so long?
Well, 12 years is an interesting question, actually. And if we're talking about like, there are questions that I think are fair when we're talking about duration.
Yeah.
If you own property and you did not deal
let
with
somebody
this,
stay there for 12 years. Yeah,
Right.
you're negligent as heck.
but like 6 months to a year.
But also, our immigration system was negligent as heck. And it's like, so I guess that kind of goes back to what you said. Like, if we let somebody stay here for 12 years, like, the U.S. jacked up. You know, like, why was that person here for 12 years?
But again, to Ian's point, I would say these are completely morally distinct things.
Yeah. Yes.
Someone didn't pay taxes to the government. Nobody was physically hurt. The tax revenue for the year was barely impacted. Somebody with Bitcoin, let's say someone got really wealthy off it and they owe $7 million in Bitcoin. That's a rounding error for the federal budget. I think the appropriate solution is, hey, you owe taxes, you got a tax bill. Thank you and have a nice day.
I think the crypto thing's irrelevant too. I think that squatting is a better metaphor.
If somebody came here illegally, it is not in any way a moral violation to say, Ian, I couldn't help but notice you've been in my house for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a ride home, okay? Give me the
12
address.
years,
I'll pay for it. Listen, if I found there was a guy in my basement that I didn't know was there, and the worst that happened was I was like, let's say
they'll pay for them to leave. They'll actually pay for them.
Ian, let's say one day I'm like, I keep every night hearing this weird noise in my basement, and it's been this way for a couple of years. I go down there, and there's a little Hagrid, little Jasmine Crockett going, I live in your basement.
My basement.
And then I say, okay, this is a problem for me. You can't be in my house. I'm going to give you a ride home. I'm going to pay for the gas. You will be comfortable the whole way.
And you can come back legally through the front door.
You'll be well fed, and all you got to do is come back, knock, and we'll talk about it.
12 years at one of your properties you don't live at, and it's just you just didn't pay any attention, and now it's their house.
So here's the issue. There's a difference between an individual who waited 12 years and never checked on their property. I would call that abandoned. The United States government is very different because there have been people in this country demanding the deportation of these individuals, but a government that would not do it. So you've got people outright saying, no, stop this, and the law saying you can't. Skirting the law and hiding is different. So how about a better analogy, Ian? You own a house. You check on it every other week. And the person squatting hides every time you come and check. And so one day you figure out they've been there for 12 years, but every time you check, they've been hiding from you. Can you kick them out?
Depends on the state. Legally, you mean?
No, I'm saying morally.
Yeah,
Morally.
Oh, that's rough.
They're hiding from you.
There's like a family of people that have been hiding and living.
They intentionally broke into your house. They're hiding from you because they know you're keeping up with the house, you're checking on it, and you don't want anyone there.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Because here's the
100%.
So if you're aware, if you're not negligent, if you're aware they're there.
And this country, this country has laws saying you can't do it.
Well, what's going to happen?
And ICE was enforcing those laws, particularly under Obama. Just because some people got away with it from hiding,
what's going to happen
doesn't mean we leave them here.
BlackRock's going to own 20% of the houses in the country, and people are going to be like squatting.
That has
and we're going
nothing
be like
to do
common
with
man or
immigration.
mega
Well, and I think
corporation.
so. I used
That
to
has
work for the
nothing to do
state's
with
financial aid agency in Illinois, and here's the thing. So for a lot of these people who have been long-time illegal aliens, they also had kids that they brought here with them. I would literally be doing financial aid applications with these children, and they thought they were citizens. So that's the issue. Is like, we have to think about all the real world implications of somebody who has not pursued legal citizenship and what it does to their entire family unit as well. So those kids would be thinking, and these would be smart kids. Like they actually had like better GPAs than some of the kids who were like actual American citizens. But when it came time for me to say, hey, what's your social? They would show me either a card that was like a DACA card, or they would show me something else. And it's like, hey, that's not a social. And then they would have to find out all of a sudden, like, wait, what do you mean? And I would be breaking the news to them that they weren't a citizen.
Did they get deported?
No, so they would actually train us with the state's financial agencies to make sure we were like protecting, these kids so they wouldn't end up in a precarious situation. But when you have a parent that is negligent or a person who's negligent with not going through that process, you really have to ask, like, why aren't you going through the process to make yourself right? Because it hasn't always been a hostile situation in America where you couldn't go and then pursue, citizenship. So why hasn't it been a priority? Especially if you've been here for 12 years.
I think because the government was being negligent.
Bye-bye.
No, listen, there's this story that we're going to pull up in a second where a guy is a superintendent in Iowa.
Yeah.
Just because you've
contributed,
lied, and hidden from law enforcement does not mean, you win. You robbed a bank, but you ran around the block 5 times and we couldn't catch you, so dread, you get to keep the money. There's no time.
There's a statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations means we knew where you were, we knew who you are, we knew the crime and accusations were there, and we didn't pursue it. That's different. If we say this is a crime and then you hide from us and we can't find you and didn't know that you were here, the statute of limitations doesn't kick in until we're aware of that crime. So if a guy comes from Guatemala and is living here illegally and no one knows the crime has been committed, then it's not negligent. If one day we then say, hey, wait a minute, that guy's illegal, and we pursue it, it doesn't matter how long it took.
Biden's saying Serge the border was negligent.
Fair enough. But look, the reason why I'm so hardline on it, and I am completely hardline. I don't care what nuance you add to it. My answer is goodbye, right? Just send. If you are here illegally, you have to go back. Bye. That's it. And the reason is because it deters people from coming here in the future.
It's not just that. Our economy is displaced. Our low-skilled labor is displaced. Our housing is displaced. Houses should not cost as much as they are. And and we can certainly talk about Trump wanting interest rates to go down because it's going to make houses go up in price. But if the people who came here illegally were not here, then the cost of houses would go way down. Why? Because the supply would be massive. Gen Z would then be able to afford homes. Maybe then they'd have families. So I do not tolerate Democrats saying abort your babies and surge the border. So we have this massive strain on low-skilled labor, the housing market, and no one can have families. Then they're telling everyone to abort their babies, and they're just destroying this country.
And then they call everybody racist when you say things like the Great Replacement is real.
It is real. You're going to replace the religion because actually when you think about the pace of something like the Muslim religion in comparison to Christianity, the Muslims are outpacing Christianity in different areas because they have more babies. They are literally birthing more Muslims. Like that's literally how they're growing.
The left loves Islam and hates Christianity.
Love it. They're Islam adjacent. And it's like as soon as Islam has taken over the areas, because if you go if you go in Illinois, they've had a big foothold in areas like Orland Park, and it's like they're taking over a lot of areas.
The left needs to realize that Islam does not love them.
They will not.
We have to jump to this story from KGW.com. Rapper Ice Cube's tour bus catches fire in downtown Portland. Investigation underway. Now, you may be saying, Tim, that's sad to hear for Ice Cube. The rumor is the fire was started by people who thought they were firebombing ICE.
Which, that is hilarious. It's terrible for the owner of the... It's awful for the owner of the bus, because I assume that Ice Cube doesn't own the bus. He's probably renting it.
Apparently...
Didn't he say something left field about... He had a comment, I think, recently about... I don't know if it was about ICE, but that sucks.
So
most people...
So again... This is apparently, I don't know if this is actual footage. This is what everyone's sharing.
Oh, Ice Cube.
Fire.
Ice Cube.
On the side of the bus.
And apparently it said Ice Cube or something.
Because they call him Ice.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if that's true. However, guys,
be pretty on brand for the
downtown Portland, which has this kind of stuff all the time, and the Portland ICE protests are ongoing. So when someone says, who set fire to his bus and why? Why did it just happen? Okay, somebody did it for a reason. Now we can speculate. Maybe it was some guy who was like, I am so jealous of this famous rapper, I will burn it. I don't know. We don't really hear stories like that.
Doesn't sound like
So when the rumor is anti-ICE protesters set fire to Ice Cube's van or tour bus, we're kind of like, that's kind of believable.
It's believable in my opinion.
Yeah, and Ice Cube might have killed people in the past. Like, he came from a rough neighborhood. I wouldn't want to set his bus on fire personally.
He said,
but maybe it'll bring him over to our cause. So
apparently he said he is not taking it as a personal attack. That could have been anybody who did it or whatever.
That's good.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that whoever did it's probably, whether the motivation was left, it was one of these crackpot Portland protesters. Because it's not the lady who owns the boutique shop in Portland doing it.
No.
And they were probably on drugs.
Portland has been under siege since the pandemic started. Like they've been in a nonstop protest and anarchy.
Which speaks to my earlier point of they should have been arresting people that assault.
No, they were like, oh, let's just give you
Yeah.
privacy.
Give them
Let's
space.
just give you the city, and you'll calm down. And they never calm down.
You should have arrested them all, thrown them all in
Put in the
jail.
streets, lighting fires.
Yeah,
Does
make it
ICE
awful.
mark their vans? Does it say ICE on the ICE vans?
Sometimes some of them will and some of them don't.
Yeah, no, it depends, and I think it doesn't say ICE specifically. Border Patrol does. It's white with a green band. It has Border Patrol on it. The ICE vans. Let me see if I can find the photo of these vans that got shot. We do have them. Let me pull this up so you can take a look at it.
Because people are working so hard to figure out where ICE is going to be now. Like in Chicago, Block Club.
They're not unmarked.
No.
There's writing on the front. I'll try and see if I can get a better image of what it says.
Why would they think he would have a tour bus for ICE? Like, what?
Man, these images are all small. You can't read anything. So this is the thing about the shooter at the ICE facility. When the left is like, he was shooting detainees, he didn't know that these vehicles were for detainee transport. He just saw ICE vehicles and started shooting at them.
The reason I asked is because I feel like the path that seems like is happening is that they'll at some point ICE will be like, we can't mark our vehicles anymore because we're too easy to target. Then they'll have unmarked vehicles. Then they'll be like, we can't show anybody's face because it's too dangerous. Then they'll all have stormtrooper armor on.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, now we all have digital ID. They want Keir Starmer in England yesterday was like, we're all going to have digital ID now because the problem they created of the mass immigration. Now they're going to try and fix the problem they created with even more problems.
It's called problem reaction solution.
Yeah, it's textbook totalitarian governance.
Textbook Alex Jones, circa.
Yeah,
Thank you, Alex.
1999.
Thank you for ringing the
Isn't the
alarm
new most
bell.
popular name in London, Mohammed? Like the
I think
biggest name
so.
for babies? Yeah.
Or for boys.
Yeah.
I'd rather not go down this path, but at the same time, it feels like the empire,
That fell. Well, London.
Yeah.
London has fallen.
As of 2023, Muhammad is officially taking the top spot in England as the most popular baby. So not even just London, England.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really bad.
Overtook Noah.
Yeah. No, their whole culture has shifted. It happened.
In the United States, you can't even blame Joe. I mean, you can kind of blame Joe Biden when he said surge the border, negligent, near dementia, but it was almost this emergent apathy that.
Bro, the stuff we are learning about James Comey, that we've learned about him, and not even just him, but Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. Actually, and we'll talk about it in a second, with the new information about what happened on J6. I mean, it's pretty patently obvious that we had a rogue anti-American faction in control of our institutions and our government for this period for longer.
I think it began at 9/11. I mean, I watched the entire country change after 9/11 with the Patriot Act and the way people were like, whatever you want, government, you're in control now.
Take the wheel.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Ooh, I remember September of 2001, how normal it was, and then all of a sudden
what?
All of a sudden, it mattered more what George Bush said than anybody else.
There was a significant terror attack on 9/11. What is it that you think? Like, so going into, aside from going to Iraq, because Iraq was a terrible, botched idea. What is it aside from that you think was the major change where a nefarious organization that didn't love America took over? Is that because that's kind of what Tim was saying?
That was like a mask off moment. I mean, it's been at it since the 1930 business plot when they tried to march 400,000 men on Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
to overthrow the
but
government.
let's pause because the creation of the liberal economic order after World War II was a substantially different set of circumstances from the business plot.
Yeah.
And those,
I believe the liberal economic order was the principal turning point for this country, in which we had the birth of the Uniparty. And you get it. I mean, the International Monetary Fund, the Bank for International Settlements, all of these things that were created in the wake of the U.S. and its European allies being like, it's time for us to own the world. That is when in 2016, Trump got in and was like, no. And then they were like, we can't let him dismantle this.
Yeah, they did with the Federal Reserve. That was like the fascists' foot in the door. Then the business plot was their blatant attempt at the fascist coup. And that got Smedley Butler blew it up. And they're like, no.
Fascist is not the right way to describe it.
Well, they said it's going to be a fascist coup. Smedley, can you lead a fascist coup on the government? We want to overthrow
They
it.
literally verbatim said
it was either
fascism.
communism or fascism. That was what people were thinking at that point in history. And they're like, we want to do a fascist government.
When this big uptick in not-for-profits took over America, like not-for-profit business is such a major jobs category in America. And I feel like that's driving a lot of how Congress is behaving, because a lot of the money gets funneled sometimes from those not-for-profits into their campaigns. Like, these people are not raising the amount of money that you think they're raising for their campaigns. They're getting it via these alternative routes. And you have so much money that's going into not-for-profit donations, and then it's just, they don't have to disclose things the way that you would think they have to disclose it. And I think that that's really caused a lot of the corruption. Even in states like Illinois, Pritzker has a not-for-profit that he exclusively uses to lobby and to influence elections. So he can go into other states and influence their elections with his not-for-profit. And that's how he's been swaying people's elections, is via that.
Ian, you're correct. Explicitly and overtly fascist was the business plot.
It was bankers, and their names are public.
Oh.
And the media just was like, we'll just not mention this. I mean, the business plot is the most fascist.
I mean, look, looking at historical things from like with modern eyes is one thing, but like prior to Mussolini and prior to the Nazis' specific unique version of fascism wasn't looked at in the same way that we look at it today. Right, like it
wasn't inherently evil. It was
so it's the way, and I feel like the way that we're talking about it here, or at least the way that you're talking about it, it only sees it from a modern perspective.
I do think the word fascist has been used like a cudgel lately. But
Absolutely.
we're all in a partly fascist system, like 13% fascist.
Well, I mean, look, so like in Chile, right? Chile was a fascist. Pinochet was a fascist dictator, and he was fairly brutal. But like at the end of his reign, like he left power. I think he died. But like they didn't continue on. There wasn't another dictator after that, if I remember correctly. And I'm not super well versed on it, but they had like you can have a fascist government that goes away. You can vote a fascist. There are even fascist governments that are voted out. So like the idea that the way that people think of fascism today implies Nazism. Right, it's almost like it's synonymous for Nazism, and it's not.
And racism.
Nazism, pardon me.
And racism.
Well,
they lump it all in together.
Yeah, that's true. But fascism frequently did have racist connections because they were very very nationalistic and ethnicity mattered and stuff like that. But I just want to point out, like, or I at least want to shed light on, when you say fascist, people think Nazi nowadays, right? Even though Nazis were a very specific and a unique form of fascism. They aren't, it is not the same as other fascist governments.
Right.
So,
Mussolini particularly was hardcore, like state-owned, control everything kind of thing, which people think that's what fascism, but it's just like when Trump used government funds to buy 10% of Intel, that was a fascist move.
No, that wasn't fascist.
Yeah, it was buying part of a corporation.
Well, no, because the corporation still has like their own agenda.
Well,
like one of the things,
90% of it.
Yeah, 90% of it. That's not fascism. Like if you're because in a fascist government, the government would go and say, these are the things that the government wants, and you can stay in business and you can make profit. And you can keep your property, but you need to work towards the ends that the government wants. So if you have 90% of your business that's working to do whatever you want and make profit for your shareholders, and only 10% of the government is owned by the government, that's not the government controlling what you do.
Well, there's a small part of that is being controlled, but
that's not fascist. Ian,
fascist or not fascist. It's not one or zero.
Ian, the point is, in a fascist government, they demand that companies do what the government wants them to do, work towards the same end that the government has. If the companies have the freedom to do other things, to do whatever they want with 90% of their resources, and only a portion of it goes to what the ends the government wants, that's not fascism.
Pointing out that
it's just the government having a stake in the company.
But it's not that a government is or isn't fascist. Governments can have fascist aspects, and some of those are.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Okay, hold on. Ian, what does fascism mean?
The way I think of it is corporate government collusion.
Like communism, you mean?
Similar, but they use money to soft influence. They don't actually own the stuff.
Even the fact
you
that
could
you
argue
think
that it's
of it,
communist to buy 10% of Intel, but it's more of like soft influence behind the paywall, basically.
What is that? What do you
It's not overt ownership. It's like control of
communist?
corporations through media manipulation.
Fascist.
Fascism's.
So what you're saying, what Trump is doing is communist. Because
I mean,
they're
you could
buying.
argue it is more communist than fascist, but it would technically be both. I mean, but the fascism is a
Then
little
what's
bit
the
more
distinction between the
subvert.
two?
What's that?
What's the distinction between the two?
That in a communist state, the government would own the means of production, would own the companies.
Okay.
But owning 10% of a company is a little different.
So fascism is when you own some of it. Communism is when you own all of it.
Communism, definitely when you own all of it. You might be able to make the argument that fascism is a road to communism. I mean, if they start to, it's just, he put it on the table.
I don't think you know what either of these words mean.
Well, I know that communism is state-controlled business.
State owns the means of production.
So socialism is the economic structure of what you're referring to. Communism is the political philosophy that encompasses the economic structures.
Right, we all own
Fascism
everything together.
has a few different definitions, but it's largely a reference to authoritarian traditionalism. Communism is authoritarian progressivism because totalitarian systems can take many different forms. The communist philosophy largely was based on we are all equal, the blank slate. The fascist ideology was largely based on the strong must survive and there is no truth but power. So that's the difference. How your economy functions isn't necessarily a component of either of these ideologies.
No, I kind of agree with that, yeah. But the Federal Reserve is a fascist function by giving the private company control of our monetary supply.
One argument was that fascism was the lucrative merger of corporation and state. The only problem is that's just an economic system that could exist in any country, even if it's not totalitarian, if it has a strong culture. So that's why I've never been a big fan of that definition as the whole of fascism. What you find with the Italians and the Nazis when people tend to describe fascism is that they were very much traditionalist, nationalist, authoritarian. When you look at the communists, they were progressive, globalist, authoritarian. So one could make the argument, Hitler wanted to rule the world. Sure, the ideology for the Nazis is not necessarily fascism, as Phil was pointing out. The general idea was ultranationalism, and the communists were like, we will control everything, and everyone will be equal under the blank slate. And
labor is everything.
Yeah, and men and women are it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. It doesn't matter, very much anarcho-tyranny-like. Fascism was very much rigid, authoritarian, hierarchy, and a simple way to describe both of these ideologies, I suppose, especially when you look at the turn of the century. Now, I think the problem we have in this country is all people can do is cite someone else.
Yeah.
Instead of, I don't know, make up a new word. But we don't have that kind of academia. And largely, these ideas took decades to cement themselves in the psyche of the public. So can we call what we're seeing today from the U.S. government communism or fascism? I mean, technically, because there's similarities, but it's so different. So people say gay race communism because they're trying to add qualifiers to justify what it is, even though it's somewhat different. I think the reality is no one has just written the academic paper with a new phrase describing it. People have tried to claim it's called Trumpism. Right.
Maybe
and what is that?
Technocracy, but it's not. It could be a neutral good thing. It doesn't have to be evil. Like fascism, I think, is evil by nature.
Why?
But it creates order. Because it usually strips rights away from the common man and gives it to the central authority.
But what if everyone in a country likes that and they vote for it?
And they've given it away. A lot
you
of
get Mussolini. Oh,
look, most.
All right. So, honest question.
Sorry to interrupt you,
No, you're fine.
Question for you, Ian: is communism evil?
It's like a political philosophy, but it tends towards suffering. So yeah, I think
You said fascism was evil, right?
Yeah, I think it tends towards suffering.
And so communism is evil too.
Yeah, that's safe to say.
If there is
generally.
if there's a nation of 500,000 people and they vote for communism, they go communist, and then they all celebrate and cheer, and they're had never been happier. Should we shut down their evil system or just let them do what they want?
Well,
interesting.
I guess it's like do no harm, But if they start infringing on your rights, you have to do something.
On whose rights?
On your rights.
I'm saying there's a country. You don't live in it.
They start spying on you.
They've got 500,000 citizens. They vote for communism. They never leave. They're happy. They don't go to war with anybody. They grow their own food. They mind their own business. And they have a 100% happiness rate among the population.
That would be really good.
So is that evil?
I think communism is evil because it strips rights away from the individual.
Even if the people vote for it and they're happy for it.
Yeah, people can vote for evil and be happy.
And they're not affecting anybody or aggressing on anybody else, and they're all living in their communist utopia.
But when you centralize authority, those people tend to go nuts.
That's not my question.
Okay.
I'm asking
if your hypothetical system functioned, you'd have like Bhutan.
The point I'm making is that what is evil about communism is that they force you into it with a gun to your head. Mm-hmm. If there was a fascist system where people were like, we want to build our own community just for people like us, where we're going to have these rules and you don't get to vote. And they all say, we would like to enter into that system. And they don't aggress against anybody. They've consented to it. They live there. They're happy. There's no human rights abuses. It's just the government is in control and tells people what they can and can't do. And they say, we're happy with that.
It could work.
So is it evil? The issue is not how people choose to live when they choose to live that way. The issue is that fascists took it by force and abused people who didn't fit in. And the communists largely do the same thing, take it by force. And in both of these systems, through the force, they enrich themselves at the top.
In the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, it was done not through force. It was done through legislation. The fascists took the power.
Well, I think even if we're thinking about real-time examples of not communism or fascism, but if we're looking at even like what's happening in Illinois, where the rhetoric, the story is just being changed. What I see often when I'm talking to people who live in Illinois who are still voting for Pritzker or things like that, they don't know the truth. They actually don't really know it because they're still citing sources like the Washington Post. You know, they're reading what they believe is reputable sources. And I think that when you start to change narratives and people can't make an educated decision, like he said, they're not choosing Pritzker from an educated place. They're choosing Pritzker based on a narrative that's been implanted in them, and they feel confident in that narrative, but that narrative is not the truth. And I think that when manipulation is implanted, that is when you have evil or inherent evil, like you said.
The NPC meme. That really describes these people. And you know what? If the NPCs all want to go live in Venezuela in their socialist utopia, then I got no problem with that.
Go do it.
Ian, I just put in Slack, I just sent you a book about fascism. You should take a look at it.
I want to pull up this story, though. We'll jump to this from the Post Millennial. ICE arrests illegal immigrant from Guyana who served as Des Moines school superintendent. Roberts entered the U.S. on a student visa in 1999. This is where the debate gets real interesting. On Friday, ICE arrested a Guyanese national who'd been serving as a superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools. Ian Andre Roberts was found to be in possession of a loaded handgun, $3,000 in cash, and a fixed-blade hunting knife. Officers approached Roberts in his vehicle after identifying themselves as immigration enforcement agents. He allegedly sped away. His vehicle was later discovered abandoned near a wooded area. Roberts was taken into custody after Iowa State Patrol assisted in locating him. He had a gun. Let's see. Des Moines School Board Chair Jackie Norris said in a statement, pursuant to the board-approved DMPS leadership succession plan, Matt Smith, Associate Superintendent, will immediately step into the role. Our priority is to provide a safe and secure and outstanding education for all students, blah, blah, blah. Oh, boy. This guy who's been here for 26 years got hired to work in our government job, and then when he was approached by ICE, he fled armed. This guy should be allowed to stay in our country?
Nope.
No way.
Send him back to South America.
I think it also speaks to a lack of verification for people who actually win elections. Like, we don't do much vetting at all of the people who win elections. We don't do mental health vetting, actual health vetting. Like, there's not much being checked for these people who win these elections. Like, that's why you have a lot of people who are mentally unstable in Congress right now. Like, why are we not checking more stuff? Like, even for me, like, I'm running in for Congress, and I'm like, I was waiting for somebody to come and, like, you know, ask me questions and say, like, hey, here's this thing you got to fill. No, there is nothing. Anybody can run for Congress.
What do you think they should ask, or how do you think they should?
I think that your mental health should be assessed. Like, but for my husband, he's an officer. His mental health had to be assessed by multiple stages of that, because he's going to be trusted to have a weapon and to go apply the law. Like, for the Congress, they're writing legislation. You know, like, we need to know, are you actually competent? And why don't we know that?
Communist Control Act, too. We should reinstate that.
What about if people have a medical marijuana card?
You said if you have one?
If someone ran for office and won an election, but they have a medical marijuana
what do you
card?
have it for? I mean, and
mental health.
What aspect of what?
The doctor actually asks you that question when you get the medical marijuana card. Why are you back pain?
No, man.
I mean, like,
no, man.
It's
The
stress.
medical marijuana card is not to better my mental health. It's to worsen it.
I mean, I'm not going to speak on that one. I just want to know that people aren't, like you said, I don't want you, there's some mental health concerns that probably don't make you viable to write legislation. And that's okay. I think that that's an okay thing to say. Like,
I brought up weed because, like, red flag laws, things where they're like, hey, in the past you did this thing, you
Wait, red flag laws?
Anything like
red flag laws is when they say, we've determined that you're a threat to yourself and others, so we've come to confiscate your weapons.
Right. So something similar, like we've determined you are a threat to this or that, so you can no longer run for office. Kind of something like that.
Where's that at?
Yeah.
That just the way, if you're saying,
I'll be more so going for basic stuff, like probably be a U.S. born citizen. I think that's a real simple benchmark. Be a U.S. born citizen. I think because right now seeing Ilhan Omar literally go to bat for Somalia from our capital blows my mind.
Yep.
I think that you should be a U.S. born citizen to be in Congress.
Well, this is the heritage American argument that the left has called white supremacy.
Yeah, no.
But when you actually talk to these guys, like Tucker Carlson was asked about this, is hilarious. He was in Australia, and they said the white supremacist great replacement theory, and he's like, white people? And then they said, well, you've argued that white people are being replaced, and he was like, no, I didn't. He was like, I said that Americans are being replaced because the interests of black Americans are the same as the interests of white Americans, and they're being replaced by immigrants.
Yes.
I also love when he was still on Fox, and he goes, black people? I don't have a problem with black people. I have a problem with white liberal women. And it's like, just comes out and say it.
I got to say, Christian, I fully believe with the hypothesis that you're stating that the popularity contest of voting and getting in office isn't good enough. Just that you can, whoever's the most popular gets it.
Well, it's actually a money contest. It's not even about popularity, because I'm more popular than Jonathan Jackson right now. I'm way more popular than Jonathan Jackson. He has more money than me, though.
What's he using it for?
I mean, he's using it for Ubers.
I'm kidding.
What do you mean?
Well, maybe.
So his last financial report had like $15K in Ubers.
Oh, so he's able to travel around.
I mean, yeah, like most of his campaign money goes to Ubers and dinner.
Are you allowed to make? I guess technically you could make a campaign commercial that seems to be like pro a candidate, but it's actually not. So it's like you have it, you make an AI commercial and you do this. I think you do a disclaimer where it's like, this commercial is AI generated, and then it's like he's just like a villain with twirling his mustache, being like, I'm going to destroy your lives.
I think that would be awesome. I did one like that for Pritzker, and I was like, you know what? I love going to my car and not knowing if it's going to be there in the morning. I love
You're like,
that.
man, that kind of excitement you just can't get anywhere.
And I love getting paid and wondering how much of my check I'm going to be able to keep. Like, how much is Pritzker going to let me keep this week? Because I don't want to have enough to pay my bills. Like, I'm just, and then people like were cracking up, and they're like, yeah, this is like actually how we're living. And it's like, yeah, this is how we living.
I felt like the rich people that you said it's money can get you politics is that they use that money to buy popularity.
Yeah, or to make it appear.
Yeah, it's hard to do, but possible, and it's very expensive. But that's basically politics.
Commercials.
Because most people at the highest level of politics, if they actually had the charisma, they wouldn't need to get into politics to get a seat in office.
Yeah.
So then what ends up happening is the people who actually want to get in to do the right thing aren't the people that are trying to sell you snake oil.
Yep.
It's
like the Raja
rough.
guy who's running in Illinois right now. Like, literally, I cannot watch a single YouTube video without his ad coming out first.
Yeah.
Like, this
That's
man has
expensive.
to be dumping money. I can't avoid the ads. I can't.
Condolences.
He has the first spot on every video. And he's like, yeah, my name has 26. My last name has 26 letters. And if yours does, I understand your play. I was like, what?
Disqualified.
Who approved this campaign?
I get along with Bernie Sanders when he says get money out of politics, although it's a little
does that mean?
hyperbolic. Exactly. Like, it's so undefined. Because me talking right now is worth $1,200 an hour. I mean, this amount of publicity at least.
You can't do it because let's say there was a local race in town and it was, Ian versus this local pastor who's lived in the town for his whole life. Just by being on this show, no one's going to hear who that guy is, and he can't afford it, and you're not spending any money to be here.
Because you would use the
In fact,
money.
you're getting money to be here.
People would use the money to buy a seat on a show like this. So it's like,
well, we don't
get
allow
money
that.
out of politics,
that's why
but
Sushi
you can
we bought,
still
yeah.
make a YouTube video and have 1 million subscribers.
I'll be honest. We don't allow people to pay to come on the show, but there are a lot of shows that do, and I know who they are. But I'm not going to call them out.
Sure. Yeah,
good.
booking agents.
You need to bring back earned media, and that's one thing I think has really been great about my campaign is that all of the placements I've gotten have been earned. And they've been earned because I was, I said something that aligned for people. Like, I haven't paid for any of the, spots that I've had. Any of my accounts that have grown, it's been because people resonated with what I said. So I think that for a lot of these politicians, like if you go look at all of Jonathan Jackson's pages, mine dwarf his, and it's because I'm relatable to the people in Congressional District 1, but also Illinois. Like, Illinoisans understand my story. He hasn't had any real struggles that are relatable to Illinoisans. The struggle of being a Nepo, like, okay, that's tough, I guess. Living in your dad's, shadow, but it's like he's just not a relatable leader for Illinois, and that's why he really does need to kind of relinquish the position and be voted out, because Illinois is in dire need of true politicians who will actually do the work of writing relevant legislation.
This democratization of media narrative with internet video is great for politics in a way, but at the same time, there's still the popularity contest where the most beautiful click button person will get without any substance. It's possible still. I don't know how to, like you're saying, like,
well, that's human nature. So you can't get human nature out of it, though.
And beauty helps a politician.
Yeah.
Even when they're in office, go do diplomacy overseas and things like that.
But charisma is also important for a politician. So I think that, you know, trying to get rid of charisma is not really the goal, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to get legislation pushed through that helps your state, you do have to be able to implore people and get them on your side to actually vote for your bill. Right now, if you go look at a lot of legislators, like from your own state or wherever you all live, most of them are not getting any real legislation pushed through. They're literally writing like 50 bills and like they're never even getting voted on. Like, go look at what the stage that most of these bills are stuck at. They're literally stuck at the beginning stage, never even got put on the floor to talk about.
Because there's no one to speak about the bill to the populace. There's no one charismatic enough.
Like, Congress isn't even talking about the bill. That's how bad it is. Like, they'll write a bill and then Congress isn't even talking about it.
That's
like, it's getting thrown in the back like trash can.
That's what Congress wants, though. The
not
less
working.
they have to do, the happier they are. Because if you actually vote on something, then you're going to be held to account by your constituents. If you don't do anything, then you can be like, well, you know, it was them darn Republicans. Or, well, you know, it was them darn Democrats. We couldn't do it. And it was the Democrats being obstructionists, the Republicans being obstructionists. So the incentive is to not do anything except for the very like benign, simple things.
You might not be wrong.
It's true, man. That's why you see. That's why there's always an omnibus bill. That's why we always have such an issue.
Bunch of rush work.
Yeah, you know, and look, I mean, look. Next week, there's the issue with whether or not there's going to be a shutdown. Democrats are trying to blame Donald Trump, and the Republicans are saying, well, you know, if the Republicans would just sit down and talk to us, and the Republicans are like,
we're not giving you health care.
We're not giving you health care for illegals. Just pass a clean CR, which is a continuing resolution to pay for it. That's all they're going to say is just pass a clean CR. Pass a clean CR. Just pass a clean CR without anything. We're not giving you any kind of funding for illegal health care, because that's what they want. And they're going to try and blame it on each other and be like, well, you know, it's their fault. Well, you know, it's their fault. And really, at the end of the day, they're happy if they don't have to put their name on anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I guess somehow defying the popularity contest of politics, I am concerned with people developing reasons why you can't do it if you're an American citizen. Like a stupidity test is like, you know, it's been 200 years that we haven't allowed a stupidity.
Intellect has to be.
I don't know. I'm not before that. Yeah, universal suffrage. I'm not a big fan of.
Who gets to write the stupidity test? That's the problem.
That's fair. And those old tests they would do were like trick questions. But I believe there should be some kind of barrier for voting.
Yeah,
for voting, that's different than running. Okay, for voting, you know.
I don't know. I saw all the tests my husband had to go through, and that was a lot of evaluations just, you know, to be an officer. I'm like, if you go on to Capitol Hill, like, they need to check these people more. Like, I don't think this should be.
Could you imagine if, like, AOC was unable to get there? Like, she won the election, but then they were like, you failed the test.
Don't even let them run, though. I mean, like, don't even waste the time on running, because then people lost their candidate. Like, you know, I don't know, like, I think that it's a huge privilege to be able to go and represent a whole district. It's 770,000 people in my district. If I can't even comprehend their concerns, how could I ever represent 770,000 people if I can't comprehend what their concerns are and then what are the tools I can use to fix their concerns?
Well, how does Jasmine Crockett do it?
She's not doing it. She hasn't passed any legislation.
That's the point.
She hasn't had a single piece go through.
She can't comprehend what her constituents are.
No, and she doesn't even like her constituents. She said multiple times that she doesn't think Texas should lead anything. She hates Texas.
Where's she from?
From St. Louis.
Yeah.
She's not from Texas.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How long has she lived in Texas?
Just long enough to get a job.
I think she moved there right before. Yeah,
Well, I think you should have to live in your state for at least 5 years before you run for state office.
I'm not opposed to that.
At least 5 years.
I mean, because like for me, I'm like, I actually wouldn't have met the 5 years because I was in Texas for 4 years, but I'm born and raised in Illinois. I've lived my entire life. I'm 35 in Illinois with the exception of 4 years. So it's like, I understand what's happening in Southern Illinois, which is why I get what's happening in the southern portion of my district, because the Will County and Kankakee County area is just like where I grew up. You know, it's rural, it's slower pace, you know, it's farming, and it's working class people who just need for life to be a little bit more predictable because their income is predictable. They get the same check every 2 weeks. They can't afford for prices to just be skyrocketing. thing. And then you have the city life. So it's like, I think you should have to live in your state and really get it.
Maybe it could be that you have to live in a state for 8 years, and 4 of those years have to be consecutive, current and consecutive.
I'm not opposed to that.
How about you can't fundraise from outside your district where you're running?
I think that would disproportionately impact districts where it's a little bit more poor. So like right now, think about Central Illinois. Like if those people would probably struggle if they couldn't.
But that means the candidates that are running on those areas
that's true.
are even.
So,
AOC would not be in office.
Actually, there's merit to that.
Right. Yeah. So we've had this discussion before because the squad famously, like 99% of the money they raised for the candidacy came from outside of their district. So what ends up happening is this. AOC does not represent her district.
No.
So then how is it that she wins? She represents commies all over the country. Let's say you've got 100 cities. 99% of each of these cities is normal American, but each city has one commie. If you try to run to represent one of these cities, you can't win.
Yep.
You go knock on doors, say, I'm a commie, give me money. They say no.
Yep.
So what do? You go online and you tell all of the cities of the country, I'm a commie, you're a commie, give me your money and I'll win here. They do. All of a sudden, where you live, you now have more money than anyone else in your town, despite the fact none of them like your politics. You use that money to run ads. These people don't know really what's going on, so they vote for you because you have money. And then that's literally AOC's story.
It is.
She does not represent her district. She got tons of money from outside her district. So did Ilhan Omar. To be fair, she does represent the Somali community.
She does.
Yeah.
She's their candidate.
Right.
Ilhan Omar is the representative of her district. But like right now, the person who's running against Jasmine Crockett, Sheldon Daniels, he's actually born and raised in that area. Like he understands the plight of, TX30. And it's like those are candidates you should be seeking out. But it makes it so hard for the average citizen to go seek out a real candidate because like states like Illinois, they're going to literally fight you tooth and nail. On making these things happen. And then in my state, also, there's a real big lack of grassroots movement. Like right now, we need people to come and knock doors. But a lot of Illinoisans, like I understand, they're busier than ever. Their time is short. And then right now, they're probably uncomfortable because of what happened to Charlie Kirk. Yeah. The idea of going and knocking doors doesn't feel comfortable, especially in a district like my district.
When is your election?
The first election is primaries, and that's March 17th. And then you have the actual election, which is November 3rd. But right now, it's kind of like the pre-election is getting somebody on the ballot. And I think that we need more Americans who understand how you even get to an election. You have to actually sign petitions. Like I need 547 petitions signed. They're real paper. Because people keep asking me for a link. I'm like, no, guys, it's not a link. I'd be done with this if this was a link. You have to sign a real paper in person, and it has to be notarized.
Oh, man. You got Soldier Field, don't you?
I think I don't think so. I might have that. I have a strip. I have a strip in Chicago. So the strip is real thin. You got to pull up the congressional map.
I looked it up. It looks like it might be. Let's just double check.
It might be, but I'm sure I missed that. I don't know.
Nope. It's in the 7th. You just missed it.
So I'm like, the way they gerrymander my district, like I'll think that I have something. And I'm like, oh, it's literally on the border and it's right outside. But yeah, we need for a lot of people to really understand the whole process.
Oh, it is. Yep. It just missed it.
How do you get people to sign the petition that's notarized?
So they have to come to either a petition drive. They can print it at their own home or sign it at their own home, and then I have to come get it from them. But it's a physical paper, and that part is pretty hard.
Gerrymandering is so insane.
Mm-hmm. It's a mess.
Illinois is one of the worst gerrymandered states.
Yeah, my district they literally carved out as many Republican parts from my district as possible. They took out Mount Greenwood, a lot of those areas where.
Here, let me pull it in and take a look at it. Look at this.
Look at how they carved out that big chunk right there.
And so the thing is, when you see this strip in Chicago, what's actually fascinating is we're talking about literally like 4 blocks right here.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's so skinny right there.
Wild.
They designed that district for a black candidate to keep it.
Woodlawn.
Mm-hmm.
That's free. I don't know how the right words. That's like a really
Illinois.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
Worse instances of
man. The Illinois congressional map is something to behold.
Yes.
Let me pull this up. And this is absolutely incredible when you look at this thing.
It looks like something my 2-year-old would draw.
So take a look. 13. Take a look at 13. 13 is intentionally look at 15, how it wraps around it. Mm-hmm. It's so they could get Champaign and Springfield and East St. Louis in one district, which clusters all the Democrats together to give them federal representation. It's insane. That's just look at 15.
I mean, that's like Control R refresh
Yeah, and think about the people in 12. Like, how are they ever going to have any access? I was reading through the Constitution, and I'm like, I feel like this is not constitutional because the people in 12 have little to no access to their representative. How is a representative ever going to cover that much ground? You don't have access to your representative, and that's a really key part of having a representative is being able to actually get to them and to their offices and be able to make your
Well, that's because
heard.
by population. And so Southern Illinois doesn't have that many people. Yeah. I think largely the issue is when you take a look at 13, Democrats.
It's terrible.
They're cheating. And when Pritzker was challenged on it, he deflected with a joke and said, we gave it to kindergartners to do. Everyone laughs, and then it doesn't answer the question. So he's got the nerve to attack Texas over their redistricting. But Democrat states are substantially worse, like 2-1.
Yeah, if you pull up an old map, it looks so like I forgot how far you got to go back, but it used to look more sensible. And I'm like, this is terrible.
You can tell that they have to keep the district connected, so they can't break it into two parts and say it's the same one district. But they're just abusing that rule.
Oh yeah. No, people. It's so hard for me to tell people who lives in my district, and they're like, "Well, I live in Orland." I'm like, "Well, you might not live in the part that I have."
Look at this. 1833 to 1843.
Yeah.
Then you get look at that population exploded.
I have the fact that I have 3 counties in my district makes no sense.
Look how they used to do it.
That's still reasonable.
It is.
That's reasonable. Yeah.
Even this.
That's not bad.
It's Let's see. It starts getting weird. They had a lot.
Still looking good. That's cool.
It's still like you're like, okay, it's kind of weird what they're doing right there, but
it's a little strange down there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it's and then it starts getting weird.
Oh, now we've
got
some weird shit on the right. What was that?
Yeah, look, here's the power struggle. Wait, where's the Civil War? Let's go back to the Civil War. So I guess it would be actually these two maps. Mm-hmm. So this is into the start of the Civil War. It's not bad. They changed it right in the middle of the Civil War. So okay, I actually think that they'd go nuts with it. This is actually not that bad.
That's still
1800s. They had a lot more districts, huh?
Yeah, they had 20.
When does it get real bad? Okay, now it's starting to get bad.
It's bad. Look at Chicago.
Wow. Yeah.
That's the 60s, late 50s.
Look at this.
After the liberal economic order got involved.
Mm-hmm. Concentrating all those districts up there is insane.
But you know what really irks me about the Republican Party needs to get their ish together. Oh,
that's it. That's the year it broke. 2003 after 9/11. Obviously, this is when everything just started to go.
One of the big problems I see with the Republican Party, I mean, you know what? Just to be fair, Democrats and Republicans, both parties do this. The Republican Party looks at Chicago and says, "What's the point of trying to convince people because the Democrats have such a big lead?" And it's like,
don't even fight it.
That's where you want to be. Mm-hmm. You want to strike your message in the heart of their stronghold and force them to retreat back and try and maintain what they presume to be a stronghold, instead of trying to win these swing districts, which are always amorphous. Send them for a loop. Dump a couple $1 million in this district. Have them caught off guard when they're like, whoa, why are we down 10 points? This is insane. This is a D+ district. Not anymore. It's not.
No, I agree. There's an org in Texas. I was asking ChatGPT. I was like, who's had really great ground game in the last decade? There's an organization just for Texas called Battleground Texas, and their whole mission is to make Texas a battleground state. They know that Texas is a Republican state, but their goal is to slowly erode it and to turn it into a battleground state.
Do you think
ground game? They're on the ground, recruiting people to do events and all types of things to start to really disseminate this whole, democratic, just their mindset, people by person.
So the black population historically, or I should say in recent history, votes Democrat very heavy. Mm-hmm. Do you think the issue of immigration is going to change the minds of these people to maybe vote Republican?
I think that it's something that opens their ears. It gets the conversation started, because when they see that Democrats are literally rolling out the red carpet for people who are literally not American citizens, and they're getting health care, schooling, all types of things, it's like, well, why haven't you helped Black people?
Yeah.
Because that's what everybody says when they run. And it's like, well, you could have did it if you wanted to, clearly. So I think that it allows people to start to be like, well, let me just talk about it. Because there's a conversation I got started recently about the Barack Obama Presidential Center, which is causing displacement in my district. So he's not paying any property taxes on his presidential center because he built it on parkland. So this massive center will not add any property tax to the city of Chicago. But already historical property owners in the district are seeing their property taxes literally double and triple. And people who have owned buildings that they wanted their kids to live in are starting to lose their buildings because of this presidential center that's supposed to add to the community. And it's like, well, think about it, guys. Is it really going to add jobs to people who already live there, or is it going to import a whole new working class from all over the country and even other countries? It's a research center.
If you go and campaign in your district, let's say you do like a debate or a town hall, and you say, hey, the Democrats are famously giving hotels to illegal immigrants and free healthcare, I'll give it to you instead. Is the Democrat really going to be like, nah, you can't have it, illegal immigrants get it? Or are they going to be forced to come off their perch and be like, okay, you're right, we shouldn't do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. And it's like, I really do hope it's a wake-up call for a lot of, or even the independent voters. It's like, hey, you got to look at something different. I've actually had some independent voters sign my petitions because at this point, it is a wake-up call for them. The crime thing coming to their doorsteps is also a big wake-up call right now because it's coming to places it's never come to before.
When they get your petition, do they download it from a website?
I actually met these people in person, so I went and just walked around. Like, I'm willing to go walk around and like get my petition signed. It's not the safest thing, but I'm willing to do it myself. Tomorrow, I'm actually going back to do a walk in Homer Glen.
Can people download your petition, get it notarized, and bring it to you, or contact
They
your
can't
office?
get it notarized. They need to bring it to me, and then I can get it notarized.
That's good.
Yeah,
do you
so
play
they can download it.
do you do the race card a lot, or do you just eyeball it out? Because you seem like just an intelligent person. I don't. And like, do you go like black people, white people, or do you just talk to people?
I just talk. I really just talk based on what feels common sense to me. That's all I do. I just talk about what's common. I ask questions that are on my mind, and I give takes based on what I see when I see crazy stuff happening.
See, that's the Republican thing.
Yeah, we just talk. Because these are, I think that's why our movement is much more genuine and much more aligned with the average American.
Yeah, because
it's because these are kitchen table conversations that we're all really having in real life. Like, Democrats posture so much and come up with these fake, storylines like Kilmar being a Maryland man. It's like, he's not, this stuff isn't real.
Have you seen this story? We love citing this story.
Less competent interactions with. Yeah.
White liberals present themselves as less competent in interactions with African Americans.
Yeah.
Conservatives don't do that.
No.
Conservatives talk to everybody the same way. Liberals try to, have you ever seen the Ami Horowitz voter ID video? One of the most legendary men on the street videos ever done. He goes to Berkeley and he asks these young white liberals, he's like, I've heard, voter ID is racist. Do you think it's racist? And they're like, yes, it is. And it's like, why do you think voter ID is racist? And these white libs say things like, black people don't know where the DMV is. They don't have the internet. And then he goes to Harlem in New York. And then he's like, do you think voter ID is racist? And he asks black people and they're like, no. And he's like, do you have an ID? And they're like, yeah. He asks this young black guy and he's like, do you have an ID? And he goes, yeah. And he was like, do you know how to use the internet? And he goes, even little kid knows how to use the internet. But my favorite interaction is when he goes to this older black guy and he's like, excuse me, I have a strange question for you. Do you know where the DMV is? And he goes, yeah, if you go up to 25th, you want to make a left. Like he was asking for directions, because the idea is so absurd that people who literally have jobs and live and pay rent don't know how to do the basic This is what liberals do.
It's got to be, the identity politics has got to be injected by some foreign thing in the early 2010s.
It's because they're not actually talking to black people. They don't actually know black people. This is why they're having dialogue about black people, and they're coming up with what they think black people do, and it's like, that's not us. I'm not gonna speak for all, but they don't actually know real black people in real life, and that's why they have these these conjured up conceptions about what we can and can't do. It's because they're not talking to us.
The ID thing really is crazy.
It's mind blowing,
because everybody as a teenager goes to get their ID.
Yeah. And they also said that about married women. They were like, oh my God, these dumb married women, their husbands, they don't even know where their marriage license is. How are they ever? Their name is different. They're not gonna know. I'm like, I literally have to go get documents and things for my kids all the time. I know how to prove my identity.
Well,
I'm really good at it.
Well, but women don't know how to file paperwork. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
people will say
I'm sorry. What they're actually saying with all of this is that straight white Christian men are superior.
Yeah.
That's the world they live in.
Yeah, they'll say that.
And you imprison women.
There's a rhetoric where they go, black people are responsible for 30%, whatever the number is, of the crimes. Therefore, if you are a black person, you are 30 times more likely to. No, in the past, that happened, so that stat is there. But there's a solution. I think it's don't throw money at people. People need nutrition, because then your kids have healthier brain matter. And people that are descendant of slavery that came out of that system that didn't have education and nutrition, they had babies that didn't have the brain capacity. No, I'm not saying everybody, but and then so if you can help legitimize the nutrition quality for people. I think that their children's brains are much healthier, and
There's so
creative.
much wrong with what you're saying, Ian.
The more creative
I think that
people
it's
are,
like, if you look at Chicago right now, they actually teach these kids in like elementary school that like white people are suppressing them. So when you have a child who's literally bred to think in school that white people are suppressing them and there's nothing you can do to overcome that, that child grows up to think that white people are the enemy. And then in Chicago's segregated. He can speak to this. Everybody lives in their own neighborhoods. So then black people also aren't having regular encounters with white people. So they just know what they were taught in school.
And other way around. And then what ends up happening in these neighborhoods in Chicago is if someone from the one race is in the other neighborhood, everybody's like, why?
What are you doing?
I'm not even talking about. I'm talking about poverty. To get people out of poverty, you got to help them with nutrition. Because
you don't get people out of poverty. People get themselves out of poverty.
Yeah, exactly. People. They thought if you threw money at them, they'd whatever. But if they get
cheese.
literal nutrition over generations,
Lots of cheese.
Yeah,
Lots of cheese. We got to get this story, and it's going to cut into super chats, but we got to get it. This is from Fox News. Trump admin official physically assaulted at UNGA by deranged leftist. The individual was charged with assault, attempted assault, aggravated harassment, and more. This is crazy. A Trump admin official was physically assaulted by a deranged leftist inside the UN Thursday afternoon during the gathering of the UN General Assembly, Fox News has learned. An official working in international relations for HHS, serving in New York as a support role for RFK Jr., quote, an HHS official was followed into a bathroom, recorded, and physically assaulted and verbally accosted by a deranged leftist at the UN who somehow entered the venue past multiple layers of security. White House Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly told Fox News. Thankfully, the official is safe and the lunatic was arrested, but this is part of a disturbing and dangerous set of failures by the UN after their sabotage of President Trump ahead of and during his speech. Kelly told Fox News Digital that the U.S. Secret Service will investigate how this violent protester was admitted into a major national security event. A source familiar told Fox News that the individual has been charged with assault, aggravated harassment, attempted assault, and criminal possession of a weapon. Holy crap.
Wow.
The individual was released from custody at 7:30. Oh, of course.
No.
Friday night, and expected in court November 13th.
We got to stop
It's getting crazy.
people to come back.
Kick him out. Kick the UN out. Get him out of New York. Let him go somewhere else.
Like
Put him on a
half the
garbage
UN
barge.
There you go.
Half the UN walked out on Netanyahu during his speech. Just a little tangent.
Send them all out.
put
Get them
their-
out.
Oh, yeah, I don't really
The
care.
UK actually, I don't know if people even know about it, but people were so mad about, what is it?
Alligator
access.
I'm like, if you literally look it up, the UK actually had their migrants on a ship, an offshore ship. They had them on an offshore ship, and like,
Great
people
idea.
didn't make a big scene about it at all. But the issue is that when they were, they didn't want to keep releasing people back onto UK soil to then say, oh, I'm going to be honorable and come back if you don't, give me actually access to the country. So they were like exploring if they should put them on a ship. And I'm like, we're not the only country who wants to keep track of people who have not been granted full access to America. It's a normal thing to be like, hey, you got to be in a holding status until you're.
I'm sorry. I think you misunderstood me. I'm not talking about illegal aliens and stuff. I'm talking about the whole UN. Get it out of New York.
You said no, the UN.
The whole UN. Boot the UN out of the U.S. The U.S. Stop giving the UN money. Boot them out of New York City. Tear all those buildings down, put up housing, put up something, put a mall in there. I don't care. Make another Trump Tower. Get them out of here. We don't need the UN in the United States. Their goals are in opposition to what the United States goals should be. We are America first now. We are not UN first. Get them out. Beat it. You gotta go.
You gotta.
Can we like, how insane is it? I grew up in Chicago. I was always liberal, and then what ends up happening is the Democrats are like, hey, we're going to give free health care to non-citizens. We're going to let non-citizens vote. We're going to give them hotels with PlayStations in them. And I'm sitting there being like, but what about the people who live here? And they're like, that's far right now. that is far right now. And I'm like,
That's socialism.
Okay. I don't know what needs to happen, but I was mentioning to Christian earlier that I was talking to my wife about who the guest was. Like, oh, the guest, and she's a Republican running in Chicago. My wife, who's from Chicago and also like liberal, she's like, oh, thank God.
Isn't that the turn of me?
And I'm like, me and my wife and I both grew up in Chicago, listening to punk rock music, rather liberal, kind of like, we had that anarcho-punk rock phase. And now here we are as adults being like, Chicago needs to get away from the Democratic Party.
Well, here's the thing. I think that for a lot of people, you are only as free as in order for freedom to exist, you have to have some type of structure around that allows for you to be free. Like when you think about people who want to just live their life, it's really hard to live your life when your stuff's getting stolen. You can't really live your life when your kids aren't safe at school.
Amen.
You got to have infrastructure in order to even be free and to be liberal. Like you got to have infrastructure.
That's why libertarian doesn't work at the global scale, because they don't account for outside the borders, really.
I was trying to find property in Chicago back when I was like in my early 20s with some friends, and we wanted to do business stuff, play music, and we were looking for property we can afford. And it was like every time we found a building that was nice enough to actually work and live in, bars on the doors, and like
that's why I don't have a district office.
You get the warnings of like, we'll make sure that everything, the lights are all off and you're locked up. You may want someone to be here overnight, and I'm like, I don't think I want to be here.
No, it's not safe.
Libertarianism doesn't work because libertarians are gay.
Is that G-H-E-Y?
No, G-A-Y.
No, the Libertarian Party is overwhelmingly.
Yes. They're all live and let live, but
LGBT,
you need like Christian, you were saying, you need an outside fence around your live and let live energy, which is our military pointing the guns outward to defend our borders.
No, they don't.
That's hard. That's like
there's too many libertarians that don't even want borders.
Yep.
There are too many libertarians that say, no, there should be freedom of movement. People should be able to be free to move.
Well, then that's just not
internationally.
libertarian. I think that people don't know the definitions of a lot of these titles that they've given themselves anymore. And I think that's getting real weird.
There are a lot of leftists in the Libertarian Party that have, in my opinion, infiltrated the Libertarian Party and taken and basically bastardized it.
I think structure and order people take for granted because we've lived in a structured and ordered society for so long.
And we need it.
It's so important. I was thinking the other night, I live in the woods, and looking into the dark woods, thinking if this was 6,000 years ago and it was raining, and I was crawling through the woods to survive, and I found a walled village, and they were like, you can come in, and it's like, but you have to drink this blood and kill this child. I'd be like, I'd have to make that decision. It's like, do I want to live in the woods and die, or would I accept the horror to have order? And order is so much more important when you're dying and you're desperate. Like the things people are willing to do to regain order, to get order when they don't have it. That's why we can't let it fall, and it's important to protect our borders.
Would you like to come back Monday?
Cities.
Well, but on a real note, this is why leftists are going and getting.
Oh, he was being serious.
I know, but
thought about that.
Arming themselves because they're trying to go get order for what they want, and they've been overwhelmingly starting to arm themselves. That's why you see like there's pages for like gay leftists.
Well,
they're like they love Second Amendment rights because it serves their.
We'll throw this in. We don't have enough time to do all of it, but there's this poster right here.
Yeah.
Hey, fascists, catch. The John Brown Club is recruiting on college campuses by saying kill conservatives.
Yep.
The Second Amendment is not instructing you to go do stuff.
No.
It's giving you acknowledging your right to defend yourself. That's what that means. Defense is not offense. Although sometimes people say the best defense is a good offense. Not really. Not legally.
Well,
it is the
liberal economic order was like, let's go blow people up.
Yeah, let's build NATO, surround Russia with defensive turrets pointing at Russia.
Ian, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it is a part of the Declaration of Independence. So yes, it is prescriptively defensive, but it is also intended to allow people to use force to change the government if the government has become destructive of what makes the populace happy. That's in the declaration.
Abe Lincoln, you can't make everybody.
In the
declaration,
declaration,
some of the time, but not all.
In the declaration, listen. I named a song "Some of the People" all the time because of that exact phrase. So I know what you're talking about. But in the Declaration of Independence, it says whenever any government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. And that is the point of the Second Amendment.
So that people they feel like the government has become destructive of that with the ICE raids?
There are people that think so. They're wrong because we have because they have representation and we have laws and we have borders. So the people that feel like that that ICE is out of line are wrong, and they're throwing a temper tantrum. They're not correct. And if they have a problem, they do have representatives that they can petition, and they have redress of grievance. And obviously, they are still allowed to protest outside of ICE facilities. So it's not time for violence at all. It's not even close to time for violence. The people that are engaging in violence are wrong and they should be wrapped up and put in jail because I like America the way that it generally is.
Well, right now I'm pretty concerned about the way America is, but I do understand your point. We like the way America
is designed to be.
Yeah, and the from the foundation of this country, there were a lot of really bad things, and the people have abolished those bad things and moved towards good things. And now we have this sect of woke left which wants to bring back the bad things.
Harp. They want to harp on it so heavy.
Like segregation, for instance, is a huge component of wokeness, where they do these segregated graduations. They I don't know if you saw in Seattle, they had POC library meeting and non-POC. So it's like it's just, I don't want to live that way, man.
No.
Like, I can't live that way.
My big obsession is how the Constitution got pinholed. I think, Tim, you referred to it as Swiss cheese a couple times. It's like pinholes in the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. I was going to throw my middle finger up.
Bro.
All of the amendments.
And
gun rights.
No, yes.
Yeah. Okay, Tim, I'm sorry. I rescind.
All of the amendments have been mercilessly beaten, except the First and the Fourth.
Well, the first with corporatization and internet now. Google's parent company Alphabet can turn off your. I kind of think this is the commons. So many people use it and have access to it. The internet, social media.
Well, that's the thing. You have to. You have a personal opinion about the modern internet as it being the commons. The fact of the matter is, you don't have to use any of that stuff. You don't have to.
My favorite amendment is the 7th.
Why?
It's the. You know what it is?
No.
It's the one that says you have a right to civil trial for things for items of value $20 or more. Because back then they were basically saying, like, when will the public hold a trial over private matters? $20 back then I think was like $250. So they're like at least $250. Now it's literally a cheeseburger and you can go to court because of inflation. But there was no Federal Reserve back then, so $20 was different.
So they need to change that to $250?
No.
Well, you got to amend the Constitution.
Yeah, we don't need an amendment for that.
No,
we're good.
I think
my favorite is so first, the 10th Amendment doesn't exist anymore.
Which one's that? Tell me.
That's the right of the states is retained by the states. So powers not given to the federal government belong to the states. But this is actually an interesting question because the way the Constitution was supposed to work was that it pertained only to the federal government, and the states' Constitution pertained to the states. But after the Civil War, when we became a unified nation, the federal Constitution effectively was overriding everything, and so that the 10th is gone. And so the issue is like the Second Amendment wasn't supposed to be this thing where no matter where you were in the country, you could have a gun. It was the federal government can't take your guns. Yeah. But if Illinois decided they could, Illinois could. We've changed that now, and we've basically, the whole country is under the federal Constitution. Yeah. So I take a look at the Bill of Rights, and the first and the fourth are probably the most protected.
Oh, the fourth is every text and email you send is being recorded. It's being stolen and sent to a central database of a private company. That is blatant violation of your Fourth Amendment.
And the rest of them are worse. The rest of them are worse. We do got to grab Rumble rants and chats because I know we went a little long. So smash the like button, share the show, subscribe to this channel. We got Prinzi, Russian oil crisis. Russian media has been reporting gas shortages due to Ukrainian drone attacks on refineries. What does this mean for the war in Ukraine? Could this topple Putin's reign? One could hope. It's funny to me that people are like, they try to make the claim that Russia is somehow like the last bastion of anti-woke or whatever, and I'm like, he's an autocrat. I don't know, like he's juggled power in his country. He's not a good guy. He invades other countries. You don't got to pretend that he's a good guy because you don't like what Europe is doing. Yeah. I like Trump, not Putin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very clear distinction.
I like when they talk.
I like when war stops.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wow, if the strikes and if Ukraine wins this, then I'll be like, okay, whatever, just stop. You know what I mean? Like, however. All right, Chanich Wilder says, if these people want to riot, then I'm fine with bringing the National Guard into every one of these cities to curtail things. It sucks, but as Ben Franklin said, a republic if you can keep it.
But he also said those that would give up their freedom for a little bit of security deserve neither freedom nor security.
Indeed, he did not.
It's not about security.
That was a misquote.
I think the National Guard should only be put into play when states are literally saying we're not going to protect you. So like with Brandon Johnson, him saying it's not about policing, it's about affordable housing. He's declining to protect people who are being raped and robbed. So with that being the case, it's like you can't just let people be raped and robbed. So it's actually literally within the confines of bringing in the National Guard because the people are not being guarded on U.S. soil.
I am being pedantic, Ian. I
missed a word or something.
Yeah. Temporary.
They would give up temporary.
So he says, essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. The reason why that's important is because we are not talking about temporary safety. The argument he made is apt. It's if you are concerned about a one-off incident, like you know that an enemy is coming from overseas, so you give up all your freedoms for that one thing, that's stupid. But if we're talking about a war that is going to be enduring for some time, and we are saying that we have to engage in wartime affairs, you'd be a moron not to do it.
I was just picturing him sitting in that chair, man, the fifth chair with us right now, what he'd say.
Yeah, I imagine you were.
That's fun.
Love it. Love it.
But the general idea is I don't want masked individuals marching through cities, cops, you don't know who they are. However, I also don't want far left people doing the exact same thing. I got to make a choice. Antifa with masks on, firebombing things and threatening to murder me. Cops in masks walking around the street, not saying anything to me. I'll take the cops in masks.
Yep.
Why? Like, I don't want either. I don't want either. But that's the issue with Ben Franklin and the importance of saying temporary. If the issue was tomorrow there will be a major storm, and you say, I will give up all my liberties for this. Like, well, that's dumb.
There's also
but if we said we are about to enter a period of warfare for which we don't see an end, or better yet, a zombie apocalypse occurs. Yeah. And they say, we are going to build a perimeter around our building. Yeah. No one can leave. And you go, I'm not giving up my freedom for a little security. It's like, then get out. Then you're dead. So there's a limit and a challenge. And I think people often misunderstand the full context of what he's trying to say.
There are also false dichotomies that if there's a threat of one sort that we need to create another threat to destroy it or stop it, there could be another way. And that's just with the Antifa, the ICE, and then there may be,
Here's the funny thing. The context was actually extremely specific, and it was about the governor on the Penn family's orders vetoing attacks on the Penn family lands to fund frontier defense. Franklin argued that the Penns, in prioritizing their financial assets, temporary safety, over the common defense, essential liberty, deserved neither. It's actually an inversion. He was arguing that they were refusing to help fund a war effort and be involved, and they were giving up they were sacrificing liberty for their temporary safety.
Federalist. Dude, Ben Franklin was the ultimate subverter. I love that guy.
All right. Patriot Palin says, I'm surprised Phil didn't say, that's right, the left lane is for crime, when Christian says she stays out of the left lane.
It's the crime lane.
I missed it, to be honest with you.
It's for sure the crime lane.
Especially in Chicago.
Right.
Yeah.
Omega Rossetsu says, Tim, screw you. Taxation is theft. And prior to taxes, we had cobblestone roads, which were more expensive, and it's not justified. I'm willing to debate you on the immoral demerits of taxation. My point is that right now in our country, we may be upset with the structure of the law, and it is the duty of a culture and people to change that. And the idea that we would just say, you can decide for yourself what rule to follow and not, I disagree with. That's what the left has been doing this whole time. However, that being said, I certainly agree with you that there is a limit to which just because it's legal doesn't mean it should be allowed, and we'd have to do something about it. The challenge for any and all people is when those moral lines are fractured between the body politic, where we have the left now saying your constitutional republic is evil and must be destroyed, and we are saying our constitutional republic is good and must be preserved. They are arguing we have become tyrannical and must be destroyed. I am arguing they are an invasive force that is seeking to subvert our country. And so it will always come down to who thinks they're right and who has the power to maintain their system. In this case, I don't like taxes. I don't agree with the idea that people should be imprisoned because they didn't pay it. Usually it's just you get a bill in the mail. That was the point. Hey, look, man, here's your bill. Here are the rules we agree to. And then we should change those. I think one of the challenges we have is that the entrenched government doesn't allow for these systems to change. Once people get into office, they look at the tax income and they go, ooh, we really need that.
Yep.
And who wants to give up free money they can take from other people by force?
Trump had talked about getting rid of income tax early on.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a viable thing. I think that would be good.
And just do tariffs?
I think that it incentivizes someone. When I look at like I said, I'm always looking at Chicago. Chicago has become so dependent on taxes and fees. So everything is a fee, everything is a fine, and everything is taxes. They don't even think about the business opportunity of Chicago anymore. That's why they're not looking at trying to welcome entrepreneurs, trying to welcome corporations. They don't even care about corporations anymore. They only care about people's bodies, how much they can work, and how much they can be fined. So it really removes ingenuity or the incentive to be creative from leaders when all they can do when they just rely on taxes. They don't have to actually work at the job. So
the Loop area in Chicago is so beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's a very marketable city.
Even working 9 to 5 down there was so refreshing to look out the window and see another building, but the sunlight coming off the lake and the fresh and also the connective tissue of the subway system of
the connective tissue.
Yeah, taking the brown line to the red line.
Living. It is living though. I do agree. And I think that it just needs to the multiple areas of the city have been just left to rot. But that rot costs money. Like the schools that Rahm Emanuel closed like a long time ago, they're still sitting there, and Chicago is still paying fees and money every month to keep them like from tumbling. So it's like you have these schools that are closed. CPS doesn't want to let charters use them. So it's like all this just dumb bureaucracy that keeps Chicago in just a financial deficit because they're not trying to be creative at all.
Here's an interesting one. Jared says, DoorDash in the north suburbs has started random identity checks, forcing you to scan your face before starting a session. Started about a month ago. Good. I think we have something to do with that because I got some kind of, I can't remember what happened. I was complaining about this because our security is very tight. Mm-hmm. And so when we order DoorDash and a stranger pulls up, we're like, goodbye? If we're not expecting you, can't be here. And we've had a bunch of security incidents that I can't even talk about without compromising security, so I won't, but people start getting pissed off. Mm-hmm. And the problem has seemed to have largely stopped. People pull up and we have our security guy walks up to the car and says, what can I do for you? And they're like, I have a DoorDash for, insert name. And they say, do you have some ID on you? Mm-hmm. And they'll go, for what? And then we're like, because no one's allowed to enter or make deliveries unless we know who you are and why you're here. And then they go, okay, and they show their ID. I would say, since the past month or so, people have just been like, sure. And they just show their ID and then we've had no problems. But the thing is, what really bothered me is DoorDash doesn't give you the full name either. So if there's someone named Jim, he can let anybody named Jim.
Jim S.
Exactly, Jim S.
Do they give you
although it mostly deals with the problem.
The license plate number? Do you get a license plate number and a name?
They should
really?
Yeah,
Uber does license plate numbers.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I am irked. So we basically stopped DoorDash. Like
Uber Eats is the way.
We don't use any of it anymore. Okay. Wait, when you do Uber Eats, it shows you the license plate number?
I think all Uber stuff is with license plate.
I mean, that would be great. We basically have been winding down doing any of that and just been relying on pickups now and going out personally because...
It's become very insecure. It's incredibly insecure.
Who knows, like some weirdo pulls up and says, here's your food. And then here's the problem. If I order food, I know when food is coming.
Yeah.
I can see it on the app. But sometimes we order food for the office. Mm-hmm. And then, I'll buy like $400 in Taco Bell. And then everyone comes like ravenous rats and just...
That would be me.
What would happen if someone pulled up and said, here's a food delivery? Yeah. Somebody working here thought it was for the office, and then people started eating it and it was tampered with because they didn't know. Mm-hmm. So that's why we told everybody, like, it's got to be confirmed, all that stuff. But that just about does it, my friends. It's been a blast. Thanks so much for hanging out. We're back, of course, throughout the weekend with clips. Then we're back on Monday. It's going to be great. Oh, man. Actually, I shouldn't say anything just yet, but next week is going to get crazy. You guys, I hope you're really excited. I can't say anything just yet. Probably can't until you see the show on Monday, but Monday's going to be epic. This next week is going to be massive. So you can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Smash the like button, share the show. Christian, do you want to shout anything out?
Definitely follow me on X at the Mod Pun. But the biggest thing is get out to vote, Illinois. Get out to vote. Sign as many Republican petitions as you can because the election process starts now. Don't sit it out and just wait until the big day. The big day is right now, getting people on the ballot so you have an option. That's the biggest thing you have to protect in Illinois is having an option.
People follow you for motivation at the Mod Pun.
Yes, the
Twitter.
Mod Pun on Twitter and also TikTok.
Do you have a website, campaign website?
Sure. You can visit me at ChristianMaxwellForCongress.com.
Thank you for coming, Christian. That was awesome.
Thanks for having me. This was good.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, guys. I hope you enjoyed my philosophy. Have a nice weekend. Take care of yourself. Be healthy. Pray for healing for yourself and others. The spirits do wonders.
You go to the gym.
I love you, Phil.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official. No, I'm not Phil That Remains Official anymore. I keep doing that. The band is All That Remains. You can follow the band on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, and Deezer. Don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all throughout the weekend with our segments, and then we're back on Monday. Thanks for hanging out.